Hello, one and all, and welcome back to LOE Endure. This is the third round of the season, and we are at Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. You probably, if you've been watching the last two rounds, another unfamiliar voice for you, but by the lack of Welsh or English in my voice, although that last part is heavily debated. It is, you have another new commentator. It is me and Mr. Daka230 going to be taking you through proceedings tonight. Alongside me in the commentary box, though, you're familiar with him already now. It is LOE's second favourite Brummy. It is Mr. XLRJ, or we'll just call him Ross. Ross, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good. I take slight offence to second favourite Brummy. No, but I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to another chaotic race in this Endure Championship, but France is normally quite good on the game, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, the last round was in China, which saw a race with some changeable conditions, a lot of chaos, a lot of great racing as well out there on the track. As it stands right now, seeing as we've got a bit of time before we do get going, 18 drivers in the lobby at the moment. Loco5HD does still lead the championship, however he has been dumped into the slightly slower Aston Martin for this race, so he'll have a tougher time maintaining that title lead. Nemo Luigi, who won the last race, is in second, and somehow Ariel Nolan has finessed his way into P3 in the standings. Behind that is Brent 4th, Rocco 5th, Marty in P6th, and it's the run of D1 drivers there. We've got Campbell 7th, Verstappen 8th, Dillon 9th, Montana rounding out the top 10. Unfortunately, Montana can't be here tonight because of personal reasons. Rick is 11th in the standings from Carmentalist League Organizer, 12th from Sir Ebo, the glorious Sir Ebo, and 13th from Farrell Fury, 14th. Larkin is 15th in the standings from Ariel Passe, then Energetics, and 17th from Justas, another D1 driver, and 18th. Killer Blue is 19th. Calvin in 20th. Old School Noje and ERS Major are the last drivers that have actually attended races so far. Those 23 drivers make up the standings at the moment. But Ross, it's going to be very interesting here to see how this one is going to play out. Of course, that grid has been slightly reshuffled, and as I think will become a bit of a pattern throughout that season, the drivers that did well last time out at China, they've been bumped down the pecking order in terms of their cars, so repeating those performances is going to be very tough tonight.
Yeah, and as you said, Luke leading the championship. He's been knocked down to the Aston Martin. I think he was in the AlphaTauri before. It is a constant but it's going to be those kind of people in those midfield cars that are going to pick up good points every week, but never the top points. So they're never going to be in the slowest cars. They're never going to be in the quickest cars. They're just going to be in the middle, and they're the ones that are going to be fighting for the championship right at the end.
Yeah, well, we never know how things are going to unfold because, of course, just finishing the race, it can be huge in terms of the points. You could be very quick, but if you crash early, that could be 50-ish points that you're leaking away. 53 points are going to be on offer tonight for just completing all of the laps. Of course, one bonus point for every lap completed in this series. We are looking to get going quite soon. I think we are waiting on just one more driver before we will get going into this French Grand Prix. And as we talked about just before the race, weather can definitely play a part at Paul Ricard. Rain could definitely be present, and I think if that happens, Ross, would you be tempted to say that perhaps those quicker drivers in slower cars could be able to make the difference, have their talent kind of shine through? So you could see potentially, if there's rain, some of the guys in the slower cars maybe working their way up potentially.
Definitely. I think definitely last time at China we had kind of a light rain, intermediate conditions, and we had about, I think all four of them, the main four, the Hasses, the Williams, all together at the edge of the points in the rain and just going along quite nicely. And as soon as it went to dry, they started to fall back a little bit. So if it is wet, it definitely does benefit them a lot more. Obviously, the driver comes into it a lot more than the car. But we'll have to wait and see on that front.
Certainly. We are still waiting to just load into the lobby. I do apologise, we are running just a few minutes late at the moment, so hopefully we can get ourselves going. We are, as it stands right now, it's going to run until 5 past the hour, and then after that we'll just go ahead if we can't get a full grid anyway, so we do get things underway. Of course, you guys will probably know how it runs. It's just a regular qualifying session to open things up, and of course the qualifying is a good idea to suss out the favourites for the evening in terms of raw pace, because obviously that can change every week depending on how strong the car is at different circuits. When you look at the grid, Ross, and see all the drivers and what cars they're in, who are you expecting to really shine through tonight?
Well, I said it. I think I said it the same thing last week, right? Me and Jake picked up on it last week. Marty in that Mercedes, he is, I think D4. I think I'm not clued up on D4, but he had a really good run of races before coming up to China, so that's why we're picking up. But he was quick at China, really quick at China, but just a few errors. So if you can get those errors out, I'd back him again. And someone else I'm looking at this race is old school in the McLaren. I'm personally still don't know how he's got promoted to the McLaren, being a D2 driver, but he has a real good shot if he finishes this race at being on the podium, if not winning.
Yeah, those are two drivers I've picked up on as well. Of course, Marty, he was also in the Mercedes last week. I think he's been in the Mercedes every race so far, if I'm not mistaken, but he dominated qualifying and quite a bit of the race, but ultimately, like you said, it was the errors and the penalties that cost him dearly in the end. He wants to try and cut those out tonight, of course, and also old school. I mean, this is a consistent Division 2 driver right here that has scraped his way into the third, maybe fourth fastest car, so he's going to be right up there, I expect, fighting amongst the front. But of course, it's so unpredictable as to how things will play out. After quite a lot of waiting, it looks like we will finally get ourselves underway. We're just loading ourselves into the qualifying session now, so we'll just have a look to see how that is going to play out. So it is round 3 of the Enduro Championship, and so it's going to be very interesting to see, because at the moment, if you look at those standings, Loco 5 and Neo Luigi, they have a good advantage over everyone else from those early rounds, but of course they're in weaker cars. It's a good opportunity, Ross, for those drivers further back to make up some ground tonight. Those two have kind of just been the standout two, really. Neo Luigi, I think if I remember correctly, he was caught up in an incident at the start of Bahrain, but he managed to get back, I think finish 4th in the end, or 5th, and then win in China, and Luke 1st and 2nd, really just consistently at that level. So yeah, they are in lower down cars. It is a chance for others to keep up, but if they keep driving the way they have, they should be in that top 5, around that top 5 again tonight, and it's already looking very, very good for those two. Yeah, we now finally do get into the session. We have a fully overcast day, so we'll see if how that's going to affect the conditions. Of course, 18 minutes for the drivers to set down the fastest lap they can possibly muster up around this 15-corner Paul Ricard circuit. So we'll see how this is going to unfold again. We've noted those drivers, Marty and Old School, they could be up there tonight, but we also have some brilliant drivers in lower down cars that could make an impact. We will see. But now we're just waiting, I guess, for the first drivers to go out on the track. But we were talking about rain, and the conditions, while they are still dry, they don't look the best, so we'll see. Given that no one's rushing out of the pit lane especially, I don't think we're going to see rain for a good while in this session, but it is a bit of a warning sign, I suppose, going into the race, that things could go against these guys. But out of the pits first, it is QVR Campbell on medium tyres, of course, one of the fastest drivers in this championship, and for this night, he has been bumped into the single slowest car, the Haas, alongside Justas. So it's always difficult for those guys to really be making the impact that they wanted. And Justas as well hasn't had the best results. I think he didn't finish the China race. So he's got a lot to prove here. But of course, being one of the fastest drivers, in the Haas it's always difficult, but you've got to take the opportunities that come to you. Campbell first out on track. Probably won't be the fastest lap on these mediums, but he'll just be looking to try and grab those positions. When you're in that slow car, you need every place you can and take all the opportunities that are handed to you if you want to be scoring those points.
Yeah, no, I feel a little bit bad for Campbell because he has been dropped from the Williams to the Haas. Even though it's only one, the gap is so big. The Haas is so much further down. So yeah, it's going to be a real struggle for him. But yeah, you have got to just try and get every position you can, every point that you can in this championship, and if anyone can, he can.
Certainly, so we'll see how that is going to unfold. We have a few drivers out there on the mediums, just about half the drivers that are out on track at the moment, so these will just be banker laps, I suppose, but we will get a run on board with QVR Campbell, get a good idea as to how you tackle this circuit, so long as he doesn't mess it up, of course. Over the line goes the Haas man, getting up to as high speed as you can. Of course, the straight line speed can make a big difference in the race. Into T1, you can see opening up that turn and then try and take as much of the curb as you can without overdoing it and unsettling the car. It's a nice clean run for Campbell, which on these mediums is really all he is looking for. On to the brakes, heading in to the end of the first sector through turns 3, 4, 5 here. Very tight overtaking opportunity potentially if you get it right. Now through the long turn 6 traction, very difficult, especially in that Haas. Should be just about flat. Onto the Mistral straight then, opening up that DRS. Of course, like I said, straight line speed will vary amongst the cars. We'll keep an eye out then. The cloud still looming over the circuit, so we'll see how that is going to affect things. On to the brakes yet again to the Mistral chicane at turn 8. Now opening up turn 9. The exit is critical here. You've got to try and get through without any oversteer. And now punching his way down towards the third sector of the lap. It's a 51-1 through those first two sectors. Now flying it in to turn 10. It should be easy flat in every car. Now into turn 11. The corner just keeps on winding and winding. You've got to be patient to get to that second apex and put the throttle back down. Now opening up that turn 12, wide entry here. Try and get to the apex if you can, just nicking that curb on the inside, heavy on the curb on the outside, flat out through the kink of 13 and now throwing it into 14. A lot of different lines you can use here. Campbell looks for a tighter line, middle of the track, opening up the final corner at 15, try not to understeer too wide. He gets out onto the curb and opens it up then, and that's going to be a tour of the Paul Ricard circuit from QVR Campbell. The time is a 1:32.3. Definitely won't be the fastest time in the session, and Ariel Nolan straight away with a 30.3 goes to the top. And now we're going to see all the lap times coming in and our first real clues to where everyone's standing in terms of the pace tonight.
Yeah, that was even though it was 2 seconds off the pace, it was actually a pretty good lap on the medium compound tires. I don't know what the gap between mediums and soft is around here, but it was about a second off his own teammate, so it's not a bad lap from QVR Campbell. Nolan putting in the fastest time as well, and Waluigi actually just behind, just a couple of attempts back in the AlphaTauri, so that's a couple of good laps. Noah J as well in the Mercedes, gone third. Obviously expect the Mercedes to be at the front, but with how the drivers are distributed, it's not a bad lap time so far. So yeah, pretty much all the lap times so far have been pretty good.
Yeah, certainly. The Williams drivers just coming over the line now. Verstappen did a 30.9, very good lap actually in that Williams. Dillon a few tenths back on a 31.2. Old school in the McLaren. I sense that may be a sandbag lap. We'll see. It's a 31.9 for a driver that we pegged as one of the favourites for tonight, so we will see. Interestingly enough, fastest medium lap XL Larkin in the Alpine. I think the Alpines look very strong tonight. Fastest lap overall, of course, from Ariel Nolan. Fastest medium lap from XL Larkin. So those Alpines looking really strong early on. And of course, Nolan has had a very good start to proceedings here. Larkin missed the last race but was on the podium, so those guys getting a lot out of their machinery so far this season, as we're still looking for just the last of the times in his opening run of laps coming through now. Killer Blue in the Alfa Romeo then. Tough break for him tonight in that car. What can he get out of it? Over the line is Killer Blue, 295. He crosses and he puts himself right in the middle pretty much in P7, a 31.2. So he's in the mix then, but no one in that Alpine, and a driver that has impressed, particularly last time out of China with his pace. So far, looking to try and repeat that at the moment on that provisional pole slot.
Yeah, it's a very, very good lap. I am a bit surprised that the Alpines are this quick around France, because A lot of it's determined, except from really the third sector, a lot of it is to do with the straight line speed, and that Alpine hasn't really got any straight line speed. But Nolan's gone fastest, Larkin with the fastest medium time. They're going well around here. I want to say Killer Blue and the Alfa Romeo. It's a decent lap, but he's behind one of the. Well, actually no, it is a decent lap because that Ferrari power unit also not very quick in a straight line compared to the Williams' Mercedes power unit. So it is a pretty good lap time. As I said, pretty much all the lap times that have been put in so far have been pretty good.
Yeah, so far anyway, as we approach the midway point in the session already, we have had laps from most of the drivers. Then Marty Passy, who got there very late into the session, has just managed to squeak his way in there, and Excel Rocco currently not on the boards just yet. So Nolan with the provisional pole, and he's looking very strong. Of course, an outsider in that championship fight as it stands right now. Looking at the guys that are out in front in the championship at the moment, the Loco 5 who leads the way down in 15th place. It's not even a bad lap on those mediums, but of course much slower car tonight makes things just that little bit more tricky just to get that speed out of the car. So he's got to look to try and move up if he can, but of course he could be restricted by the machinery. Neo Luigi though in the Alpha Tauri, which is a big downgrade for him from what he's had in the first two rounds in terms of his car. He was a McLaren round one, was the Ferrari in round two. He does take a bit of a step down to that Alpha Tauri, but he's not lost any speed clearly. Right in the mix then for Neo Luigi, so he's got a good amount of speed out of that car for the moment, but it is Nolan on that provisional pole. But Ross, looks like we're just about getting into those second runs, and a lot of drivers on outlaps, and we're going to see, I imagine, with a lot more drivers that were on the mediums making a transition to the softs, we should see the time start to plummet and the order start to dramatically get shaken up.
Yeah, one person I'm watching now is Marty. Hasn't set a lap yet on his outlap, just about to get up to the final corner, so he's about to start his first lap, and we've obviously picked him to do quite well today. So it'll be interesting to see what he does on his first flying lap of the session.
Yeah, just keep half an eye out then, heading through T1 and T2, getting some nice external shots here of the Mercedes. Yeah, I imagine he'll be targeting that top time of Ariel Nolan then. But of course, you got to try and keep it valid. Can be quite difficult to do here. Keep it between all the white lines through the 15 corners of the Paul Ricard circuit. Marty coming through that first sector in 22.1. You can see opening up turn 7 onto the Mistral straight. The Mercedes will be very, very solid down this straight. Of course, in terms of straight line speed, you're looking for other cars like the Aston Martin to be quite quick down here. Onto the brakes, into the Mistral chicane, and Flicky at third. And now back up into fourth gear through the exit. And what is that middle sector time looking like? It is pretty quick. It's a 49.6. He's looking to be one of the top guys. How can he take it through this final sector? Into T11 in. Again, a corner that doesn't last quite as long in the Mercedes as it does in some other cars. Still not the easiest to get through. Bit of understeer for Marty. The Division 4 driver goes through his teammate, I think. Actually, no, that was Faro Fury in the Ferrari, I think. Just moving up to third. Now we're looking for Marty through that final turn. Coming up to the line now. Let's see what the Mercedes man can muster up then. Opening up that DRS for the last time. To the line is Marty with 1998. What is the time going to be? It's a 29.5. Oh my word. That's nearly 9/10 of a second clear of anyone else. His teammate Noah J does go to fourth on a 30.5, but a 29.5 is so far clear of everyone else. Marty, is there anyone on this grid that can get even close to that?
Yeah, this is. He showed this pace in China. Obviously, didn't win the race after a few mistakes, but he had the pace, and it showed that lap. Noah Luigi's just gone second, and he's still only 7/10 off. So it's such a big margin. That Mercedes is so quick around this track, especially, and with the right driver, it's just the gaps exemplified, and Marty's just. We've got 6 minutes left. If anyone beats that, I'll be really, really, really impressed.
Ariel Carmentos comes up to the line, goes 5th on a 130.6. Old School, and well, there's the other driver we mentioned, a 129.9, puts himself up into the mix. Farrell Fury, good lap, goes into P3, 30.1, so the times are coming down, and Old School does do a good run in that McLaren, but still nearly half a second down. A lot of time to find, no doubt about that. I think Old School's teammate Brent is just coming up to the line, invalidated on an outlap. Actually, that doesn't mean anything, but he does now go again. Further along the lap, I'm looking for drivers that are on hot laps coming near the end. Then I think that's going to be one of the AlphaTauris. Rick, though, backed off on that lap. Neil Luigi is also following him into the pits. Of course, he improved further down the line on the last lap that he did. So we've got XL Larkin, who's on a pretty strong lap at the moment in that Alpine. Of course, he's had a very good lap on the mediums, one of the quicker ones out there. So a 31.6 coming up to the line now as XL Larkin crosses for 15th, goes up to 4th on a 130.1. So strong lap again from the Alpine man. We'll see how his teammate Ariel Nolan will stack up to that. But those Alpines going pretty well so far, but Marty still comfortably up at the top of the timesheets. Old School as well going quite strongly, but like you said, that 29.5 looks like a near impossible benchmark for the rest of this field.
Yeah, it's the two we expected to be up there, and just the pace is from Marty especially is just ridiculous. If anyone beats that, it will be might be the lap of the season, to be honest. But yeah, Larkin moving up to 4th place. That was obviously he was only down there because he'd done a lap on the mediums beforehand. So his first soft run, he jumps up ahead of Nolan, who I think has just started the lap. Yeah, he's down at turn 3. So we'll have to watch out for any improvements from him. So far, this field is shaping up quite nicely. The D1 guys and the Hasses and the Williams down in 11th and between 11th and 14th now. So yeah. They are forming where they normally are. So that's Brent has retired in the pits.
Yeah. So must not have thought there was much. I think there is a lot of time out there for him, but he's just decided to retire anyway. Interestingly enough, all those D1 guys, look at how close they all are in terms of the time. Justas to Campbell, 11th to 14th, just about 1/10 of a second. That's how evenly matched those Division 1 guys can be. That could be a battle that we'll look for in the midfield throughout the race. Still tracking Ariel Nolan though on this flying lap, still valid, still going well. So we'll see what he can do then. I think the main reference is going to be his teammate XL Larkin. Those two look to be on fairly even pace. The Aston Martin's very close to each other as well, just a few places further down, a few tenths of a second further back. So now Ariel Nolan coming through up to the line as the Alpine man. Let's see what he can do. Currently 6th, crosses the line, goes 3rd on a 30 flat. So he does go ahead of his teammate, does go ahead of Farrell Fury in the Ferrari. So Nolan again going very strongly, and he's also got the jump now on both of the guys ahead of him in the championship, Neo Luigi and Luco 5HD. So Nolan looking very, very strong at the moment, and so far, you have to say, in a very strong position to take advantage in that championship. But of course, such early days, Ross. It's almost idiotic for me to say that, because after this, we've still got 53 laps to get through, and well, you know, we haven't really talked much about it, but just that length of race really throws things up in the air. You've got to deliver. You cannot afford mistakes. So even though you could be qualifying well, 53 laps is a lot of time for something to go wrong.
Yeah, and get through is exactly the right word, because obviously there's a point for how many laps you complete, and if you do 53 laps, you get 53 points. On top of that, whatever position you finish, you get points for that. So it is a case of getting through, just picking up the points, which is, as you said earlier, you can be as quick as you want, but if you don't finish the race, you're losing out massively. So 50, it's such a long way to go. It's Energetics goes up to P2 in the Red Bull.
Yeah, it's another Division 4 driver, I think, Energetics, maybe Division 5, but that is a very strong lap then, putting himself up into position 2, still though just over 4/10 back. But you're seeing those guys that, you know, they are still very quick drivers in their own right. If they get that shot in that top team, they are going to put down some serious lap time, and you're seeing that in full flow there, you've got to say. Martin, though, still comfortably fastest. Campbell was on a flying lap, invalidated, so he's going to have to try and go again. So further back on the track, just starting, is the championship leader, Loco 5 HD, first and second in the first 2 rounds. But of course now, back in that Aston Martin, is going to have to really work to get speed out of that car. So let's see what he can do now as he comes through out of turn 6, as Nolan has crashed then. And that is just nice to show. I think that may be just coming into the pit lane actually. There's yellows down there at the Mistral chicane. That is one of the Red Bulls that went off. I think that's probably Ebo. Now coming through into the Mistral chicane, you can see Loco 5 then taking that very nicely, looking for traction through the exit. Got to just hold on to that car all the way through as he comes over the split lane. He's a 10.5 up, which will put him in front of Noah J's Mercedes, so he's got to try and find a bit more time if he wants to get even further up the order. What can he do in this last sector? Loco 5 HD opening up turn 11 in, slotted into the apex. Very clean run, you've got to say, from the Aston, trying to hook it in to the curb of turn 12. Power through that exit, then going to try and avoid that oversteer as much as you can. Now on to the brakes, throwing it in to turn 14 and now to turn 15. Don't take too much curb on the inside. Now to the line, the championship leader, Loco 5 HD, coming to the line now as the time about to expire. The Aston Martin improves just to 8th on a 30.3, so it's a good lap, and I think he maybe would have been hoping for more, or is that just about all he could do with that Aston Martin out there? Now the last of the time is going to come in. QVR Verstappen, that's a great lap in the Williams, a 30.6, puts him inside the top 10, but of course maybe that is not where you want to be. Tyre wear can stretch in the race. Val Fury now in the Ferrari to the line. He just about doesn't find time. He remains in 5th place for the moment. Is there anyone else out there to try and find time? I think Recurrent came up to the line, doesn't improve, remains in that P13 now as Passy goes 9th in the second of the Ferrari. So now the times are coming in thick and fast now. We have XL Dillon up to the line, 30.7, and the other Williams. Marty goes faster again on a 29.3. This man is absolutely storming out there. Neil Luigi, invalid, won't be able to find an improvement then. There is an Alfa Romeo there heading through the last few corners on the track. That is Keller Blue and the Alpha. He'll be looking to try and get amongst the D1 drivers, I think, that in that mid-30 range. So now Keller Blue, 295 to the line here. As it turns out, I didn't even realise this. He's invalidated on his lap, unfortunately. So he will be forced to start from 17th. His teammate for the night, Rocco, is just behind him. Old School, I think, is coming up to the line. Doesn't find the improvement. XL Rocco comes through, goes 16th only on a 30.8. There was a late time, I think, but from Larkin that puts himself in a P5. Energetics unable to improve. He backed off on that lap. So I think that is going to be just about it for qualifying. And, well, for the most part, a pretty close grid. But as we feared, I think, in Martin 1998 going to the front, and I think after another race in the Mercedes, even if he isn't getting the results, I think some word has to be said about this man's qualifying pace, because that's 2 poles in a row and 2 poles by very, very big margins.
Well, yeah, I think the gap's nearly 6 tenths, and the gap from 2nd to 10th is 6 tenths itself, so it's such a big gap at the front, but he's just got to make it pay in the race.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll see if he can try and convert that pace to results. Energetics joins him on the front row from Old School and Nolan. Some experienced customers just behind the front 2 on the grid. 3rd row is Larkin and Farrell Fury, followed by Noah Luigi and Luco 5, top 2 in the championship on the 4th row. Passy and Noah J rounds out the top 10 and outside the top 10. QVR Verstappen, which actually I mentioned, a great lap in that Williams, followed by Carmentos. Justas, a great lap in the Haas from Brick, Dylan, Rocco, Campbell, Keller Blue, Brent and Ebo rounds out the grid. So that is it then for qualifying, but in front of us is a hefty 53 lap race, and oh my word, we talked about it, Ross, it is absolutely pouring it down in the race. I think it is going to be intermediates looking at the pit lane, but wet weather for the race, and well, the dynamics we had from qualifying, they have now been flipped on their head. This race now promises to be an entirely different prospect.
And this normally tends to either benefit the quicker drivers or the more experienced drivers, so the guys that are in the quicker cars will on average, they'll tend to struggle a bit more in the wet. So it will probably balance out the difference between the cars, and it will see the likes of Kivar Campbell. I think I can't even remember who's in those cars. Just As anyone in the Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo. Those guys are gonna have a really. They're gonna benefit a lot from this weather, really. But it'll be interesting to see if it's wet for the whole race or for a certain amount of time, and see what people do with tyre strategies as they start the formation lap.
Yeah, so everyone on the enters, unsurprisingly there. We'll see how long these conditions are going to involve. Have to keep a close eye on how these conditions are going to shape the way of the race. So this is going to be very interesting now. A bit more of an unknown thrown into the mix then. You can see the AWS graphic, which is always 100% accurate, of course. Suggests a one-stop on the enters, but of course, we don't know how this is going to play out. It could be raining the entire race, which would be an absolute nightmare. A 100% race with rain. That seems like the grind of your life. But we'll see how things are going to change, or not change for that matter, through the race. But, well, Marty being at the front, of course, qualifying on pole by such a big margin. But you never know how things are going to unfold. He could struggle in the wet, or some of the drivers further back, because they will have been able to see the rain, they may have decided to change the setup up and how things are going to unfold. So potentially we could be seeing that pecking order shake up and really, make changes very early in the race. It's also worth noting as well, these drivers will have to be careful into that, medium speed chicane at the start. Crashes can happen, and even in the dry, as Energetic spins off on the formation lap. Of course, won't be damaged, will be able to recover, but that's not what he'll be looking for. But the drivers are going to have to look out for each other on that start, because in the rain, it can get very, very tricky and very, very treacherous down there.
Yeah, and you said about Marty potentially struggling. He did struggle in the rain in China. We had very similar conditions. I think it was full wets though. But they started the race under them, and he slipped back from pole to fifth in the wet, and then had to make all his ground up when it dried out. So we might have similar circumstances here. But for Marty's sake, let's hope not. But for the race's sake, we want to see some action. So if that means he has to come back through the field, we'll take it.
We certainly will. We'll see, of course, if this rain is going to hold out or not hold out. We will see. Old School's decided to charge ahead. He's known for being pretty good in the rain, so I think him being P3, someone to look out for. Also Larkin in P5, also a driver known for being very strong in the wet. So those guys could be some of the ones to look out for. Of course, these Alpines have looked very strong so far tonight. Surprisingly so for this track. We didn't think it would suit it, but so far it's looking just fine. As now the grid begins to take shape, they line up then. It's going to be Sir Ebo at the back of the grid then, the last car to settle. And now we will look to try and get proceedings underway for what will be the third round of the season. So let's see how this is going to unfold then, as the grid now set, and we are ready to go racing as we build up to 5 red lights for the third round of the year, and away we go. We are off the grid in France, and it's a brilliant start from Marty at the front. He's gapped the field already. Old School gets alongside Energetics. They're almost 4 wide in the background. It's crazy stuff then in turn 1. Marty leads. Old School inside gets Energetics through turn 1 then. Larkin and Nolan, the 2 McLaren, the 2 Alpines in rounds. Goes Ariel Nolan spearing to the back of the field, and he's collected drivers, I think, then down there. There's one of the Haas's round. That's Campbell. Noah J's gone off as well. It is chaos down there. Carmentos was caught up. Energetics off the road, hitting in a turn 6, dropping back then. Slots in front of Farrell Fury, but it is absolute chaos down there. The 2 Alpines came together and what I would say is a racing incident, but back goes Nolan, and he's collected 3 other drivers then. You can see, I think that was Killer Blue running a bit wide then for Verstappen and Rocco battling. Rocco's had a pretty good start. You can see them all fading away. It's a massive scrap in that midfield then. As he enters contact, out to the side of the track goes Brent and Dillon, and they are both out on the first lap of the Mistral Chicane. VSC deployed. Absolute mayhem at the start here, Ross. Brent and Dillon tangling just before the chicane, and Nolan going round collecting Carmentless, Campbell, Noah J. What a start here. They were all over the road there, Ross.
Yeah, and we now have a full
Full safety car.
Yeah, it was absolute carnage at the exit of turn 2. Really, I think I didn't really see it, but you said the Alpines came together. I just saw Noah J sliding off, and he kind of brought car mentalist and Campbell with him on that one side, and then yeah, the Brent and Dylan. It's kind of it was very weird. I'm not sure if Brent moved slightly across the front of Dylan, and they both got dragged into the wall. But yeah, that was a very strange incident, and we already have quite a few drivers into the pits.
Yeah, Larkin actually he's going on to slicks. Oh my word! He's put on medium tires. Is this going to be a strategy? Is the rain going off early here? We also have Ebo going mediums. Now this is fascinating, but a lot of others going for the slicks. Well, that's Justas mediums. Looks like this is what people are going for. Although Rocco's in, he's got a front wing fix. I imagine that's going to, yeah, Campbell as well in for a wing fix then. Kelly Blue stacking behind his teammate. He's going for slicks. So as the safety car is deployed, and of course, if the rain is easing off, it does give it a few laps for it to ease itself off. But this is really, really interesting. It's still pouring it down out there, but Larkin, Justas, Ebo, and Killer Blue all opting for that bold strategy onto the slicks. That is fascinating stuff. Could it possibly work? It seems too early to me. The conditions evolve slower in 100% races, so those guys going for mediums, that's bizarre, but possibly genius. We'll see.
Well, yeah, it's very interesting. It all depends really on the length of the safety car. Oh, as you say that, Killer Blue's just smashed into the wall. Oh my! On the run down to turn 3. That was it's almost like he...
Oh, wow, they've got no grip.
Just slid straight off the road into the wall while he was full on the throttle, and I've just watched Ibo have a little spin as well. So it really doesn't look like it's time for drivers at all yet. Normally on this game, if you're on a 50%, it's 1 to 2 laps after it stopped raining, and it hasn't even stopped raining. So, and you're looking at 100%, you're probably 2 to 3 laps for it to probably dry up. So it's a weird one. I guess they were banking on the safety car being out for a long time, but it's very interesting, that one. And a lot of the guys that had made up places were the ones that came into the pits. So it purely depends on if they think the weather's going to dry up, then it's going to dry up. But we don't know that, so it's a weird one from the outside.
Well, just on board, Larkin has decided not to pit. He's going slower than the safety car queue through the corners. It's only on the straights where he makes up time. Justas is also elected to stay out, so these guys banking on that strategy. Now, of course, what does benefit them is that they have essentially grabbed a free pit stop, so if it does go to slicks eventually, they won't lose that pit stop that the other guys will. But it's still such a risk, because like you said, it takes a good few laps after it stops raining for that transition in terms of the actual on-track conditions to take place. Ebo has had enough. He's decided to go, I imagine, back to a set of the intermediate tyres. The slicks clearly not providing any grip whatsoever. So he's put intermediates back on. But still, Larkin and Justas, two very experienced drivers, have elected that the slicks are the better strategy. Now, there's no way, as I imagine we will get back to racing in the next couple of laps, there is absolutely no way that those slicks are going to be as quick from the restart. They are banking on it easing off and then essentially just losing less than a pit stop behind the train and gaining that all back when the rest of the field pits. That's what they could be going for, but it is such a risk, because if those slicks are not suited to the conditions, you could lose that pit stop in just a single lap.
Yeah, that's the thing I was about to say. They could very easily lose the pit stop before it dries up, and they could have they made the pit stop under the safety car, but they could be even further behind these guys, because they've lost that much time. They could probably lose, I don't know, 40 seconds, depending on how long the rain stays for. 40 seconds isn't unrealistic to lose in about 8 laps if it still rains at this amount, although it does look like it has dried up a little bit. It's still raining, but it doesn't look as heavy as before, so it might be edging that way, but you can still lose so much time, and it is a massive gamble for these guys to throw.
Well, safety car is in this lap, and Marty, who got a brilliant start and pulled away, is now backing up the pack. He's going at quite a bit of pace, actually, considering it is a safety car restart, and now I think he's going to try and put that hammer down, heading out of the last corner. He set them off at pace. We're going to have to keep a close eye. The rain is definitely easing, so we'll see how this strategy is going to work out there, but I suspect they're already going to be starting to lose that bit of time. Over the line now, the race is back on, and under pressure immediately is Ariel Passe now from the Williams of Verstappen, but the Ferrari just about has the straight line speed to hold on. Rocco's already moved past Larkin. Campbell already past his teammate Justas. There's no grip yet on those slick tyres. I'm on board with Campbell here, and you can see Larkin's car just washing across the track surface, but you can see actually, could it work, because the rain has just about stopped. I think it has stopped, so the rain now is off of the way, but can those guys hold out? This strategy could actually work. We will see now as Marty breaks away in the front then from Old School behind him. Energetics as Farrell has gone off the road and the Mistral, the can't go into the Mistral straight, now dropping back then to 6th and maybe even 7th, and he has his teammate behind him then, Passe, having to cover off Verstappen. Mercuric is right there as well in that quick AlphaTauri. But they all settle into line as it stands right now. But those guys on the mediums, they have already lost 5 seconds. We're going to have to keep a close eye on that gap. It is a very slow pit lane here in France, so we will see. It has already stopped raining, but you suspect it's going to be a few more laps yet before you're seeing those intermediate runners into the pits.
Well, they're losing about a second every corner still, and that's to the Haas. It's not exactly to the Mercedes or anything. They are losing so much time. Still, so we're going to be about 3 to 4 laps as Larkin has gone for a spin and he's in the wall, and that is he's out the race. We might just avoid a safety car for that. Well, that was a big accident down at I can't remember, is it the senior corner? Well, I don't know the corner names, but Larkin out of this race on lap 4, and it's just not paying off for the dry runner so far.
Yeah, Justas has already basically lost that pit stop. Luco 5 decided to come in. He's put on a set of the soft tyres, which could work a bit better than the mediums in these conditions, but it's still a very, very bold move. Neo Luigi moved past Energetics just at the end of the last lap, who now goes down to 4th. Farrell trying to recover from that mistake that he made on the last lap. Now 5th and chasing after the Red Bull. But so far, Marty looking fairly solid in these wet conditions, and Old School just about going with him. The rest of the field, though, struggling to live with that pace set by the top two, as Passe's got a really good run on his teammate at the moment. Then is he going to try and go for a move? He's still 2/10 back. He's using that battery. He wants 3-yard barrel. Farrell's going to have to cover the line, but he stays on the outside. Passe going inside there, braking very, very late. Can he get the car stopped? Yes, he can, but Farrell holds it around the outside and maintains 5th place. Passe, can he get a better run? Farrell's on the curve then again, and a mistake from Energetics up the road, but he hangs onto the car critically just about in these conditions. So as it stands right now, he runs 4th. Farrell's still under a lot of pressure from Passe on this lap, but he will maintain that 5th position for the moment. But he also doesn't look all that comfortable. And behind them is the Williams of QVR Verstappen as Passe again looks inside a Farrell Fury, who covers the line just about through turn 11. But Verstappen is coming through nicely behind him. He's a driver that's good in the wet in a slower car. But we're seeing a top end D1 driver make progress here and getting a run on Passe. Passe came into contact with his teammate, but Verstappen lost grip, I think, going offline and had to get out of it. The conditions are fading away, and the Ferraris are going to be double stacking in then, so the conditions are changing very, very quickly here. Justas and Ebo are fighting then. Luco 5 is catching these guys. There's some way down the track at the moment, but a whole slew of the cars coming into the pit lane. The Ferraris are stacking, DRS enabled. Looks like Ross, the crossover point has come. Maybe it was a lap too early for Luke, but the Ferraris are stacking. It is now chaos in the pit lane.
I actually think the main problem for, even though it was still raining a little bit, the main problem with the guys that pit under the safety car, they would have no tyre temperature.
Yeah.
Whereas Luke coming in at full racing speed, he would have had more chance to keep that tyre temperature that he had when he pits. So it might have worked a lot better for Luke, as he actually comes out, I think, just behind his teammate. So it's not the worst decision from Luke, although I don't know where he was before that. But the other thing I was going to say, Martin Old School have just checked out completely at the front. Now, whether that gap closes up because they haven't pit the same lap as everyone else, but they just completely gone. I think it was about 4 seconds between Old School and the next car behind, which was Noel Luigi. So It'll be very interesting to see if that gap closes, but it is still Luigi. Actually, as we say that, Energetics is getting past him with DRS down the straight, so Energetics moves up into a net P3. And goes a bit deep in the process, but it could be very interesting to see if these guys can actually undercut the leaders.
Yeah, well, the fighting is not quite going to help. The pace looks fairly even then. Ebo has been caught in the middle of this and has decided to jump out of the way then. There seems to be a distinct difference in grip between the medium and the soft tyres out there. As down the inside goes Nolan, he gets through on Justas then, so you can see the extra grip coming through then. Energetic still hounding Luigi, but Luigi just about holding on to the place. Now, the top three, predictably, into the pit lane as it continues to dry up at quite an increased rate then. So it's Marty, Old School, they both go for mediums. Verstappen followed them in, and they are beginning to lose that time, so the Slick's definitely the tyre to be on now. At the crossover point was just midway through that lap, I think. So they all go for the medium compounded tyres. Marty, Old School, and Verstappen. Now Luigi had a bit of a difficult lap then on those medium tyres, but he will still maintain that P3. Energetics closing into turn 1, won't quite make the move. Verstappen is going to emerge in P6 and has just managed to jump Passy, who of course was stacking behind his teammate in the pit lane. Further back you've got Passy defending himself from Rick Uric. You can see the soft tyres now. He's looking to recover from lost time. He's up behind Justas, goes to the inside line, heading into turn 3. He's going to get the high ground, and through goes the Ferrari onto the inside. Justas on older tyres, who still, I imagine, struggling to get temperature into them, but now the track is coming to these guys. It's not quite optimal conditions, but it's getting towards that. Energetics though, right with Luigi this time, looks to convert that move, heading into position 3 on the road then, not far behind Old School, but Marty now that we're in the dry, and 4 seconds out ahead of Old School. He's completely checked out as they still fight further down the field. Luke and Verstappen, Luke just moving past the Williams driver, still making good progress on those softs. So at the moment that pecking order is changing about, but Marty's lead continues to extend, 3.5 seconds clear, and now that we're in the dry, that dominant quali pace he showed now begins to take more of an effect out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he had pulled the gap out on that final lap on the Inters between himself and Old School, but he's even pulling it out now. The gap, they're all on mediums. I think Marty, Old School, and Luigi, as we have Noah J off on the run into turn 11. But the one that really lost out in the pit stop phase was Passy having to double stack. I think. Oh,
it's Nolan. Nolan and Verstappen have come together at the penultimate corner. I'm not sure who was at fault for that one, but nevertheless, both of them lose a slew of positions then down the order in this race. So Nolan and Verstappen now having to recover. They were side by side through 14, now losing out. Further back then, Justas defending Rocco. Rocco trying to go round the outside of turn 1. Can't pull that one off then. Justas has the grip on the inside to maintain that place. His teammate Campbell is coming up behind. Fastest lap on the last lap is Passy now. Looks for a move on Carmentos. Doesn't get through. The Aston Martin sweeping around the outside, but he's lost a lot of time to his teammate. Just a few laps. You can see the softs still considerably in these slightly greasy conditions, still by some margin the quicker of the tyres, but they will fall away later in the stint. That's the risk you take in this 100% race of overdoing it on tyres. So Passy will cruise past Carmentalus, goes to P7 on the road, so he moves up. Carmentalus back into 8th. As further back then Justas beginning to hold up a train then. Rocco couldn't get through. Campbell is behind, and Justas on those older tyres really struggling. But at the moment then, the drivers to watch are the ones on the soft tyres, and in particular Energetics now coming up to Old School. Old School's matching Marty on pace, but the Red Bull is closing in, so even though those softs won't last as long, the Dutchman is looking to make use of those tyres now, take advantage and close up to the back of the McLaren.
Yeah, Passy getting past Carmentalus for the second time in a matter of laps. Obviously lost the position when Nolan and Verstappen made contact, but yeah, Passy lost out big time in the pit stops, obviously having to double stack behind his teammate. He was battling his teammate, so that's how much time he's lost, and then losing that time to when the incident at the final corner happened. But I think he would have lost that time had he stayed out anyway, so Passy really just whoever that lead Ferrari was benefits so much from that, and Ferrari 5 seconds up the road from his own teammate now, and Luke's not really gaining that much right now on Ferrari Fury, so it'll be very interesting to see what the difference between the softs and the mediums is as we get a bit further into this stint.
Yeah, the crossover will be coming soon. you'd imagine between those tyres. Closest battle on track looks to be Energetics now attacking Old School to the inside into the Mistral chicane, gets in front by the braking zone and gets clear by the apex. Energetics through to position 2 on the road. Still though, Recuric is honing in on Carmentalist, but that Aston Martin is very quick down the straights, and Carmentalist holds on to position 8, but he looks to be struggling more than most early on in this stint and has just dropped away from Passy. Passy trying to go with Loco 5, but Energetics now to P2. He's got to try and make the most of this now as the sun begins to poke its head and show itself through the clouds. Old School's just going to try and stay with it, but can Energetics try and muster a bit of pace? Marty is in full control of this race, but could that gap come down a little bit then? He still maintains the lead, the softs will drop off. Marty in control though, and at the moment, unless he makes mistakes like he did last time out, there's no one that seems to have the pace, the consistent pace, to quite be able to match him.
And as you say that, he does the fastest lap of the race, gets beaten by Energetics. Obviously, the tyre compound difference. Marty's just in a world of his own right now. I think he's going to get reeled in slightly by Energetics, but on a completely different strategy at this point. So Energetics on the softs, going to have to... Well, he's definitely not going to get to the end, probably going to have to use the medium compound tyres to get to the end of this race. Because Marty, the mediums, might be able to stretch it, probably not though, so he'd probably be looking to put on a set of softs or another set of mediums, and he's in such a strong position right now, whereas we have Old School still on the back of Energetics, so staying with the Red Bull driver. Marty's in such a strong position right now, it's very difficult to see anyone other than himself bringing his own downfall in this race.
Recuric just makes a move there on Carmentalist. At the start of the lap, Nolan got through on Campbell. So the Alpine driver trying to recover from that contact with Verstappen. He's up behind Justas in the Haas. You can expect, look at the difference in straight line speed, even though the Alpine's not the quickest car in a straight line. The battery pulls him through, and Justas has no choice but to let it go. So through it goes Nolan to P11, just behind Rocco now P10 in that Alfa Romeo. A few seconds behind the cars up the road. Recuric defending that 8th place now from Carmentalist, who's down to 9th now on the road, as I think the advantage of those soft tyres already looks to be beginning to shift away then. Energetics has lost a bit of time to Marty on this lap, and Luke has fallen away from Farrell as well. So you can see the soft tyres are beginning to drop in terms of pace relative to the mediums, which just hold on to their pace that little bit better. So we'll see how that is going to unfold then. As now, as I say that, Nolan looks to try and prove me wrong, goes through his Old School's off the road. Old School off at turn 2, and the McLaren recovers, spins the car back around. Passey's going to go through on him, but that is a major blow to the man who was running second for so long, third at the time he made that mistake. I'm not sure if there was contact with Energetics. He is Passey looks to be letting him through almost, heading into turn 5. Not sure what happens there, but Old School goes through to P6, but that mistake or contact, I'm not sure, costing him dearly for being in that fight to P2, down in the P6. It's not a disaster for Old School, but that's a major setback he couldn't afford.
Yeah, and there was no contact warning, but there was an exceeding track limits warning, so it makes me feel like he's just dropped it from going wide as Passey manages to get through on those soft compound tyres. But yeah, that's a major blow. He was looking very strong. He was looking to set it up very nicely in the second stint of this race, with potentially the soft tyres to come, and second place looked to be well within reach, but now he's got a lot of work to get back. That was definitely not all over, well inside the points, and clearly has decent pace in this race, but a long way to go from here.
Certainly is. The cloud's still very much over the circuit at the moment, so we'll keep an eye out for rain as Marty continues to press the pace on those medium tyres, and at last I think Energetics, even he cannot quite live with that assault that is being put down by the Mercedes man. I think we may have to do something about the cars then, because he's clearly a bit too quick in that Mercedes right now. Carmental's behind Recuric, he's got no interest in making that move second, as Nolan is dragging that pack of D1 drivers along. Rocco, Campbell, Justas and Verstappen. Verstappen trying to go with that a little bit further back in the train at the moment, as Old School just going with Passey now, who's looking to try and drag him up. But at the moment, Marty leads 5.5 seconds clear. Neil Luigi is somewhat shadowing Energetics. You'd expect him to try and come back later in the stint, but reports are from the drivers anyway, is that rain will be coming late in the race, so that's going to be something to look out for then as they come through. That we actually have a couple of possession changes then. Old School goes back through on Passy and Carmenslist back through on Mercuric, so you're seeing those swaps come through now, and is that a sense of the balance of power finally shifting between the mediums and the soft? Because Old School got passed by Passy on the last lap and immediately gets that back. Now he has shown a bit more pace in that McLaren tonight, but he now looks to try and make that impression. He's got Loco 5HD right in front of him on the softs as well, and the Aston Martin, both quick cars in a straight line, so Old School look to try and make that move stick. If he can get P5, then that's a good ground, a bit of a base for him to build off of after what's been something of a frustrating day so far. He's looking to try and recover from that spin now, coming up on the back of the 5th place man in the championship leader.
Yeah, but I definitely think the mediums are coming into their own now. I think it's about 6 or 7 laps in a 50%, so you would have thought about 14 to 15 laps in 100%, where that's probably the limit of the soft. So around now, they've done about 7, 8 laps since I can't. Well, let me have a look. That would help. Yeah, about Luke's done 8 laps on the soft, so it does seem like the mediums are probably about even, if not a bit quicker at this moment in time. So Old School's got a really good chance to try and get back up to 5th. Luke, obviously no slouch, leading the championship for a reason. That is because he is quick and he's consistent. So it'll be very interesting to see how Old School can get past, and it won't be down this straight. It's a bit too far behind.
It doesn't look to be a major difference between the compounds. Passy able to stick fairly confidently with Old School. Old School just dragging him along, of course, a bit of a DRS train building up then. Speaking of which then, they are beginning to now stack up behind Ariel Carmenslist. He and Rick have been going back and forth over the last few laps as the track does begin to brighten, I think, as Energetics picks up one of the first penalties in this race. From possession 2, he is safe at the moment, but we're only on lap 13 of 53. There's a long way to go, and you don't want to be picking up too many more of those. So Energetics then, not what he would have wanted early on in this race, and Marty's lead just becomes even more comfortable at the moment. He is net 10 seconds ahead, or 9 seconds ahead, sorry, of Energetics now. So he's looking very, very comfortable at the moment. We've got a couple of trains, though, that have built up in this midfield, going right down, really, to 14th. It's just a bunch of DRS trains, 2 separate ones. Look, being pressured by Old School, but Old School not quite going for the move just yet. Passy still following Old School through. Of course, those Ferrari and McLaren, very evenly matched cars, but with very different characteristics that go along with that. So Luke holding Old School back. I think Old School's going to look to try and set up the move further along this lap. So let's see then. McLaren versus Aston Martin. Passy will look to try and follow through as well, as Old School gets a brilliant exit then, getting himself up towards the back of the Aston Martin. I think this is going to be a fairly simple move. I don't think that Luke is going to want to fight this one too much as the softs fall away. Through goes Old School back to P5. Passy will be unable to follow through. Luke will not be an easy car to pass as Rick again swapping places with Carmenslist. Dives inside, gets the move done. Hitting in to the Mistral chicane then. Justas and Campbell, the 2 Haas drivers, fighting it out there. Campbell gets alongside his teammate then, heading towards turn 10, but Justas will hold on to that P12, and now Verstappen, who has a bit more straight line speed, now coming at both of these guys, looking for a way through. Passy and then Luke are also fighting. Passy gets through at T11. There's fights all over the track at the moment. Justas holding on to that P12, but under a load of pressure, and that has freed up Rocco to go away. And those guys just falling away a bit from that Rick-led train now. No one has gone with them, but the D1 train has not quite been able to live with that pace set down by Ariel Nolan. So you can see the car advantage coming through there. As we continue on then, onto lap 15 of the race then, just under a third of the way through now into this race. But a very intriguing one so far as the Haas drivers will swap places, and Justas is swapped on the straight as Verstappen goes between drivers, goes inside of turn 1 and gets the move done. Great opportunistic move, using the straight line speed of the Williams, and through goes Verstappen to P12. Justas trying to fight back at his teammate. Great scrap between the D1 drivers, but in the end Verstappen, great little bit of opportunist driving. He saw the gap down the middle, went right through it, and in the end the Haas drivers just had nothing to hold it off. Verstappen to 12, Justas down to 14, swapping away then, and that's the racing that these top drivers are capable of.
Yeah, that is the main downfall of the Haas. Really, it's so draggy in a straight line. You can go side by side with your teammate on DRS, but you just get breezed past by anyone else. And Verstappen started that straight. Yeah, he was on the back of them, but to overtake both of them down the straight, it's just shows how bad that Haas actually is in a straight line, and then holds them both off with both having DRS. So this is Verstappen's chance to. He was up in 8th early in the race before his little tangle with Nolan, so it's his chance to try and make some more positions up. He is having a good race so far over that incident, so it is a massive chance for him to try and he can try and get Rocco first off, who's well within reach, 1.5 seconds, so that's his next fight up the road.
Yeah, speaking of Nolan, he is now right up behind that wrecking car mentalist fight that's been going on. He sat behind him for the last few laps as they continued to go back and forth. Passy is really past Old School, actually. Those guys continued to go back and forth. Luke still with them. Car mentalist looking at Rick and Nolan with, let's be honest, a slower car than these guys down the straights, just having to sit and watch and wonder what he could do if he was in that clear air. Update on the lead. Marty's lead now up to 7.5 seconds on the track, and Energetics is still pulling away from Neil Luigi, so you can just see the extra pace that the Mercedes man has and the Red Bull man has, keeping up that pace very well on those softs compared to some others out there on the track. Luke in particular has begun to struggle out there on those tyres. Carmentalist won't repass Rick here. He'll sit in 9th place for the moment then. Nolan up behind him, as still the Haas drivers are keeping with Verstappen. You sense Verstappen now within that Williams can inject a bit more pace into this train and chase down Rocco. But really, this elite queue of drivers is just doing all they can to catch up, and they'll be hoping, I suspect, for more fighting between Rick and Carmentalist. They've been very efficient battling each other, only overtaking into the chicane. But for that pack of drivers behind, they'll be hoping for a bit more fighting, and I think they'll be hoping in particular for the Alpine of Ariel Nolan to get involved. He's in behind and on those softs, looks to be quicker but can't get through at the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of this train with the Williams and the Hasses is just bragging rights between the D1 drivers. Really. It is. They're in their own race in a way. If they can beat each other, that's the main objective. And at the moment, Verstappen having looking very good to come out and stuff like that. If we have Noah J around in the final sector again, Verstappen just outside DRS. He might actually be able to sneak it in onto the back straight this time around. So I have to watch out with that. As you said, Energetics holding up very nicely on those soft tyres. Obviously, Marty's still pulling away. Marty's been pulling away since lap 1, turn 1. But Energetics doing a really good job holding onto those soft tyres. And Luigi just, once again, don't really mention his name, but he's up on the podium in the podium positions once again.
That's just what the man does, and now he sits in position 3 at the moment, and 5.5 seconds adrift of Energetics. Hasn't quite been able to match the Red Bull man's pace, and is just being shadowed by Feral Fury. Passy and Old School still with us. Luke has just about hanging on to these guys. Passy and Old School continue to fight in turn 11. The inside goes to Mclaren on the tighter line. Does get through, then can he just about do it? Yes, he forces Passy wide, and through goes Old School. And what's a great scrap between those two on separate tyre strategies. Nolan on the softs came in on the last lap, so maybe you'll see the softs. The soft runners begin to dive to that pit lane. Energetics does stay out though. Passy is going to dive to that pit lane, and so does Luke. So you can see them starting to fall off as Noah J finally his luck runs out in the race, and a VSC deployed in the race, and Noah J goes out of it then. Unlucky for him, but now those soft runners that just came into the pit lanes and the D1 drivers, Verstappen, Campbell, they look to be trying to opt for that strategy. They're going to pit again, but the soft runners who are at the end of their tyre life, you have to say they've been granted the big lifeline here, and if the others have to pit, well, that just throws it dramatically in their favour.
That is perfect timing for particularly Passy and Luke as they entered the pit lane at full speed. And the VSE was literally started as they hit the limiter and ended as they took the limiter off. So that is perfect for those guys. And I would have thought most people will still have to pit. So it is perfect timing for both of them. And actually, yeah, Verstappen coming in as well. That could be crucial in him trying to get back into the top 10.
And more frustration for Ariel Nolan, who had worked his way past Verstappen and Campbell through the pits, straight behind him. But Campbell's gone for the hard tyres. He's looking to try and stretch probably all the way to the end of the race if it stays dry, which isn't a given, but it is beginning to clear up. Nolan, I imagine, will make light work of the Haas, and Campbell will not have any interest in fighting for that place, and understandably so. So Nolan does go through to 13th, and next up on the road for him is going to be a tough one against QVR Verstappen. Those guys, of course, already one coming together in the race so far. Nolan, can he do it on raw pace? That Alpine a little bit quicker, of course, than the Williams. He'll look to try and make that ground up. Energetics is still out there, but now you sense that those softs are beginning to fall away even for him, because now Neo Luigi is beginning to push back towards that 3-second window of the penalty. Of course, Energetics, apart from Ebo, the two Red Bull drivers are the only ones with penalties in this Grand Prix at the moment. So Energetics will probably want to try and save that, maybe get into the pits this lap. He'll be furious that he didn't pit the lap before and get that advantage with the VSC, but he's going to have to try and soldier on then. Neo Luigi chasing him down and still dragging Val Fury with him, of course. Old School has stayed out there, but we have to keep an eye out on Passy and Luke now, because they've been given that free pit stop. They have much fresher tyres, so they can make that ground. And dare I say it, when all said and done, they could be big favourites in that P2 fight then. Of course, the medium tyres could go for an entirely different strategy late in the race, but right now they're going to have the pace, and they, I imagine, are going to push for big-time track possession right up at the front on the podium.
Yeah, they should be able to get a lot of places. They would, 5th, 6th beforehand, and yeah, they should be able to push up potentially to where Luigi is, depending on how much time they've actually gained. As Luke has actually picked up a penalty on the exit of the chicane, so that is a big one in this race. It's only lap 19 and one penalty so far for him, so could be more to come. And I'm surprised a lot more people haven't picked up penalties. 3 penalties over 20 laps now, so that is a big shock. The one thing I was going to say before the VSC, the one thing having realistic car stops really is DRS trains. Obviously we had the train at the start, but you can overtake it.
Skill going at it with Passy, and also this battle between Rick and Carmentis. I think Carmentis is probably close enough if he wants to go for the move. Let's see then as he opens things up. DRS now wide open for the Aston Martin, but he's deciding not to burn that battery then, keeping it. He's almost full battery charge, but he will not go for the move. Gets right up to the back of Rick, but is content to follow the AlphaTauri through. Justas pressuring Rocco. Justas doing a very good job as well in that Haas so far. You've got to admire the effort in such a difficult car to drive. Rocco just struggling a bit more now as Justas keeping those tyres in check. Of course, he went for that early pit stop. Worked out okay for him, it must be said. Not brilliantly, but not terribly. Now runs a P9 at the moment out there on the road, as Energetics somehow is electing to stay out for yet another lap, given how early the rest of the soft runners came in. I'm surprised he's still out there. He's getting some decent pace out those tyres, but you can see that they're starting to fall away. He was at one point close to 6 seconds ahead of Neo Luigi. Now that's less than 3 seconds, and you sense the softs are falling off. Probably not far off puncture territory, but nevertheless the Red Bull driver still soldiers on bravely and is still pounding out there as Farrell Fury now picks up a penalty, and Old School and the Mclaren now take advantage of that.
Yeah, with Energetics, I would have been in as early as possible. The Red Bull was probably the best car on the tyres, so I would have been straight in, first opportunity, try and not really, you can't really get an undercut on Martin when you're 13 seconds behind, but he's just bleeding time now. The gap behind is 2.4. It was 6, as you said, and he's just losing so much time. So if I was him, I'd get in as the first opportunity, get on some mediums, because they should be able to go to the end from now. And he's got a really strong chance still of getting a podium in this race.
Yeah, certainly. These guys all pretty even on pace, and of course we do have to look out for Passy and Luke. Luke has stuck with Passy very nicely, looks a bit more competitive on the mediums, on the softs. His softs look to drop off before pretty much anyone else. So the Aston Martin not going so well on tyres, which is ironic because in real life it's one of the best cars on tyres in the whole field, but nevertheless he continues on as Marty's pace just continues to pick up 34.5, and that's a fast slap by 0.2 of a second, and there's no one out there that can just live with that pace at least consistently. Maybe you could see some of the guys on fresh mediums pull out that sort of time, but it looks to be a struggle for them, and that's just the difference in car performance coming through all the way through. But further down the order, you've got is actually Old School has moved past Foul Fury in a turn 1, gets the move stick. I wasn't expecting that one, but Old School gets through. Carmentos again out behind Recuric, doesn't go for the move, but that's another overtake from Old School. Farrell, of course, picked up that penalty on the last lap, and his recovery continues as he'll look to try and hunt down Neil Luigi through the remainder of this race. So Old School now to P4 on the road then, and we'll look to try and build on that up towards Neil Luigi as Energetic still staying out. He's losing almost a second a lap. Nolan does predictably make that move on Verstappen, and now he's going to look to try and make as much ground as he can to benefit from the drivers on older tyres out there on the track. Carmentless now is on the battery, and he'll go through on Recuric to P6 on the road, so he moves up the order. Justas still up behind Rocco, he won't make the move, so there's still battles going on all the way through then, as Sir Ebo picks up yet another penalty in what's been a difficult day for him so far. But Marty's leading about 15 seconds, and Energetics is losing at the very least half a second a lap then. He was obviously frustrated maybe to not win out with that VSC, and I think now he's just trying to make as much ground as he can through the rest of this stint. And does he come in finally? Yes, he does. Energetics, after a grueling 17-lap stint, now to the pit lane. He must have pushed everything out of those tyres.
Yeah, he was very early on the limiter as well. He's got to really watch out where he comes out from this, because he could lose. He's got to watch where Passe and Luke are, because those guys obviously came out under the VSE. He's got to be careful not to come out behind them, see how much they've actually gained. This is crucial for their races, really, as they're coming down the pit straight now. Energetics, I can't actually see, go on board with him, but
they've jumped him.
They are actually ahead of him, so that's how much time he's lost. I think if he'd come out, if he'd have pit 5 laps ago, he would have been well up the road from them, but he's now 1.5 seconds behind them. So, yeah, left it a long time, and it's not really paid off, because that, to me. But that actually also shows the pace of Passe and Luke, and they could well be a net second in this, net second and third in this race, depending on when the other guys pit.
Well, they should only be gaining time on the likes of Neil Luigi. They were already with Old School, so I think they'll be comfortably P2 and 3, actually. As Justas moves through inside of Rocco. Doesn't give him much space into the Mistral chicane, but gets through the P7 in. Up ahead on the road, as Justas picks up a penalty just as he makes that move. And now the penalties are beginning to rack up throughout the order. They are going to shuffle things at the end of this race in terms of the end results, so we'll keep an eye out for that then. But Passe and Luke are coming up to these guys, and Energetics now with fresh tyres. I'm sure there'll be a massive relief to him. He's going to look to try and chase down this train as well, so Justas Rocco could have some company very, very soon, and Passe is working his way into that DRS range. Further up the order, Marty's lead now 17.5 seconds. It is a dominant display at the moment. He's at turn 5, whereas nearest rival is at turn 1. Just incredible pace. Old School dragging Farrell with him is slowly reeling in Neil Luigi, so we'll see if he can try and make some ground and get up towards it, but that will be a very long and arduous process for the McLaren driver. Rocco up behind Justas, not able to quite find the move, backs off just a little bit, passing in behind him now with more grip underneath him and on those tyres, now looking to try and find that overtake if he possibly can pull it off. So Rocco in an Alfa Romeo, which is a pretty decent car down the straights, but of course the Ferrari power unit may hold it back. But Passe has the Ferrari unit with a bit more downforce and drag, so maybe he gave it a go. As I say that, Rocco off the road, heading through turn 6, and now sweeping round the outside as Passe has to go off the road himself, and now Luke behind will try and take advantage. Passe coming round, but he's losing that momentum then. Maybe he had a legal overtake, and he has to back off. Luke now going inside of the Ferrari, gets the move, done in a P9. The championship leader takes advantage of that situation and moves up. Now, up behind XL Rocco. Passe will be frustrated. He'll look to try and fight that back. But now, Luke will be eyeing up Rocco as well further up the road. So Passy now coming back inside at turn 10. Can he make that one stick? He's inside of turn 11. Has to get space from Luke. Passy throwing everything into the corner. The tyres will hold on, and through goes the Ferrari to P9. So back and forth action between these two. But it is just costing him those chances, costing them that time. And now Luke has with this energetics now on those much fresher tyres, now beginning to hone in on that group in front. So Luke now is coming under pressure, and the Red Bull looking to get through. So now all these guys, if they want to try and preserve their P2, P3, P4 slots that they'll have, they need to try and get through. And this is the kind of situation that the likes of Neo Luigi, Old School and Farrell, this is a dream situation for them. These guys all battling. Energetics looking outside of Luke then in a T1, doesn't get through, but all these guys getting held up. It's only good news for the guys at P2, 3 and 4.
Yeah, they're just bleeding time. I think Passy definitely did have an illegal overtake because he had to lift. And that's why Luke got the run of him. I've gone on board with energetics. He's got 90, nearly a full battery pack to use, and he picks up a penalty as I say.
Oh, he's gone round,
and he spun. Oh, wow! Going on board with someone and talking about them is the new commentator's curse. But yeah, no, I was about to say he had a full battery pack to use as Passy. Has he got the move done on Rocco? He has, but he's picked up a penalty in the process, putting the inside of the chicane. So he's finally got that move done, and now needs to get past Justas as quickly as possible, but picks up the penalty in as he does that. Rocco still without penalty, running in P9, but yet to pit.
Yeah, and of course, with those older tyres, you suspect that Luke probably isn't going to have the hardest of times getting through on the Alfa Romeo. So let's see how he sets up that move. Passy will look to try and build up that buffer to Luke. Those guys have been locked together for the longest of times, and Passy will look to try and put that behind him. He's lining up Justas. Luke as well, though, diving inside into turn 15, wheel-to-wheel contact with Rocco. Rocco holds it around the outside, maintains the place. Passy now attacking Justas. He'll get through easily then. Luke will have a harder time going inside of Rocco late, but defensive move for the Alfa Romeo, squeezing him inside. Luke very late on the brakes. Can he get it stopped then on the inside? Rocco fades back outside and off the road as the Aston Martin. Can he get through? No, looks like Rocco is going to hold him off in a turn 3, late braking again. Rocco cuts the inside, gets a penalty. Luke doesn't get through there, and this is exactly the situation that Passy was looking for. The gap now raising its way up then, and up the road goes the Ferrari man. Luke will have to dispose of Rocco now, but he gets oversteer through turn 7, and Rocco doesn't look eager to give up this possession then. He looks inside again, does Luke again, another late defensive move. Rocco's not happy, but I think the initial move from Luke though will get through at turn 8 this time, and will get through at the Mistral chicane. But that was to be honest, a bad tempered battle between the two of them. Luke does get through, but in the manner that he did it, he is not going to be a happy man.
Yeah, that move on the straight from Rocco is, I had very bad visions of something happening there, because it was quite late, and it even caught me by surprise, going on board with it. But yeah, Luke finally gets through, but he's lost. He hasn't actually lost that much ground. Justas is just staying. I think it's actually, well, he's definitely lost DRS now, so it could be a lot easier to get through on the Haasman. But and actually, he makes his way into the pits, so Luke doesn't. That's a driver Luke doesn't have to battle with. Rocco's still within DRS of him, but he's now 1.7 behind Passy, whereas he was right on the back of him before they caught Rocco and Justas. So he's got a bit of ground to make up. He actually did get DRS of Justas, so that's a bit of ground made up for him. But he's got a lot of work to make that gap back up.
And you can see, you're starting to see now, Justas, of course, he was battling away with Verstappen with Campbell. He's behind Campbell by some margin, who's on those slower, hard compound tyres. He's lost 8 seconds to Verstappen, who's been dragged along very nicely by Nolan. Now Energetics just in front. Another position swap between Rick and Carmentelis. Those guys just cannot be separated. Through goes the AlphaTauri up on the Aston Martin. So Rick to P5, Carmentelis to P6. Those guys have gradually, unfortunately for them, dropped back from the group in front. Old School still dragging along Farrell Fury. Neo Luigi is maintaining that gap to Old School and Marty now, who's already over the line onto lap 28 as we just about reach the halfway point of this French Grand Prix. Still dominant, still easing away. He's got a full pit stop on the field. Marty now, all he has to do is do what he's been doing. It's simple as that. He can just cruise away, and really now, this is going to be, looks like it's going to be a very easy win, and I also think it's going to be his last race in that Mercedes car.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think that's the most clear-cut thing we've had all night. If he gets put in this Mercedes again, I think there will be riots in that chat. But yeah, he's so far. He's nearly a full pit stop ahead. It's actually scary. But this is what equal cars is. You put a driver in just slightly out of where they should be, and yeah, they go and dominate. So let's not put the curse on it. But yeah, Marty looking very comfortable out in front. But one man that's kind of gone under the radar still. I said Noah Luigi, we don't talk about him very much. Farrell Fury, right on the back of Old School still, trying to get back into P3. I think neither of these guys have pit yet, so they have, but they haven't pit for a fresh set of tyres, which I don't think they'll do until probably lap 30, the late lap, 30-ish laps. So Marty sets another fastest lap. 34.2 is ridiculous. So we have, I think that's Ivo round at turn 5. So yeah, Farrell Fury actually Old School into the pits on lap 28, the end of lap 28.
So are we now seeing the lifespan of these medium tyres? They should get to the end from here, you'd imagine. So, but of course, Energetic's got a lot of laps out at the soft, so he is going to put on Old School another set of the mediums. That's probably going to be the strategy. Maybe some drivers will try and stretch it to a soft stint. We will see out there. I do think the likes of Nolan and Verstappen could be quite hard pressed, but not impossible to take those tyres to the end. Old School, though, where's he going to emerge? He's going to be jumped considerably by Passe and Luke, and he's going to emerge just alongside Energetics. Energetics does sneak through, though, in the Red Bull, and more frustration for Old School. Of course, if Energetics hadn't had that spin, he would have been comfortably up the road from the McLaren, but now Old School, with much better tyres under his belt, he has to try and make that move. But you can see the time that they've all gained on him. And Passe, you have to say, in particular now that he's got 2.5 seconds on Lucas Campbell picks up a penalty, Passe looks in such a great position in the Ferrari. And you have to say, right, he's an easy net P2, there is no doubt about that. But can those medium tyres stretch it all the way to the end of the race? Because those guys that are currently on the mediums yet to pit, their tyres will go to the end. Old School just going through on Energetics, his tyres will go to the end. But can Passe and Luke's? That is going to be a real stretch then. I think that those tyres, it could be too much, but we will see. It's going to be a tough one. Can they stretch it out, or are they going to go for another stop?
It could be very interesting, but I do think if they do another stop right at the end onto softs, the pace difference will be so big they could make it up. So it will be very interesting to see. This is the one thing I love about these longer races. The strategy comes into it a lot more. Is Noah Luigi and Farrell Fury into the pits? Have had enough of those medium tyres up to 23 laps. Marty stays out. He's got such a big gap. It really doesn't matter if he stays out or not. But and Rick and Carmenta is still going to carry on. So their battle continues yet again. Now up into the podium places, but they can battle there.
Yeah, so Neil Luigi comes out as, Old School got past Energetics on the last lap. Farrell Fury is going to have to try and do the same. He's out behind the Red Bull man on those older tyres, he's already lit up those tyres throughout this stint as well. He could struggle, but Old School comes out, he's closed on that gap, so you can see that undercut working nicely. Now he's just 2 seconds off the back of Neil Luigi, who's going to have XL Rocco, who's at the end of his tyre life, without a doubt, probably will be in the next few laps, but just for this lap, he is going to be holding back. Neil Luigi has pretty much a full battery though, having just pitted. Old School's completely burned his off further back, and Rocco has as well. In fact, he's got absolutely 0 ERS. He's done everything he can to stick with Luke, who's on much fresher tyres, so he's doing a good job of staying with it, Rocco, and stretching those tyres out. But now Neil Luigi looking to try and get through as soon as he can. He does not want to spend that last sector behind the car on 25 lap old medium tyres. As you can see now, he's getting a lot of closing speed as Mark picks up a penalty. The first thing that's really went wrong for him tonight. Neil Luigi trying to sneak inside. He gets much more grip. He gets inside of Rocco. More momentum around the outside. Inside a turn 12. But Neil Luigi much more confident confident on the brakes, but Rocco is not giving this one up. Squeezes the AlphaTauri to the outside. Now they run parallel towards turn 14. Rocco has no choice in the end though, but to let it go. And Neo Luigi, an opportunistic move, and it's exactly what he needs to slingshot his way up towards Luke, and he needed to get that one done quickly, Neo Luigi, because Old School is hunting him down, so the more time he spent behind Rocco, the more chance the McLaren had of making him up. But now, as he stacks up behind Luke, he's got that car between himself and his nearest pursuer, so ultimately, very good job so far from Neo Luigi, and he's looking to try now, and his target is going to be passing up the road, but with much better tyres under his belt. He should look to try and make it through, so Neo Luigi at the moment, with no penalty as well to his name, looks very confident at the moment to still be able to recover and get into that second place once again.
Yeah, that was a fantastic battle between Luigi and Rocco's. Perfect, well, as good as you can defending from Rocco without losing the position, as Luigi breezes past Luke on the straights, the championship rivals, and Luigi's be able to still make that gap up after the VSC helps Luke out, and Luigi stays ahead of him. So, it's a great battle between him and Rocco, but Luigi, well, probably the favourite now to finish second in this race. He's got really nothing between him. It's what's going to happen behind him with Energetics making that mistake. Has he got the pace to catch back up at the end of this race?
Rocco's going to come under some pressure here. Old School, who's still dragging Energetics with him. Farrell's not quite with this. His car Mentalist will dive to the pit lane, one of the last cars to go in. Rocco still staying out. I think he just wants the battle cars, to be honest, then, as he has faster men coming up behind him. Old School will breeze past. There's no competition there, just so much more grip from the McLaren. He goes through to P5, and now Energetics will look to try and follow through as well. Farrell Fury will be hoping that Energetics has a difficult time getting through, and he can piggyback onto that DRS with the fresher tyres that he has. Recuric and Car Mentalist, that battle still goes on. This time though, Recuric with that undercut does jump Car Mentalist by just over a second, so he does have that advantage now, and Car Mentalist is going to drain that battery, try and get back to it now. Rocco's tyres are completely shot though, and it's going to be no contest as Energetics moves inside and moves up into that 6th position on the road. So it's Energetics now from Rocco. Farrell Fury will look to follow through. Is Rocco going to come in on this lap? Marty's already at the end of this lap, but he still continues to pilot on then. Another lap down for the Mercedes. 40 seconds is the advantage. I know he still has to make a pit stop, but that margin is just absolutely crazy. For the rest of the field is still very close. Old School inside of Luke now. He's got more grip on the inside line, and he'll get through on the Aston Martin, and Luke has no choice this time but to let it go. So a great move there from Old School. Opportunistic driving. These are the kind of moves that you can only get with realistic cars, but Old School through to 4th. He's still looking to hunt down Neo Luigi. That 2-second gap, it's just been a seesaw battle between the two of them all the way through the race. Old School's spin being the only determining factor really in that so far. But he's hunted him down, 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Passy still in front of him then. Passy will probably have to pit. But we will see if he can try and stretch those tyres out. Of course, another pit stop. He could be on some very fast tyres at the end of the race. Old School now to 4th. Luke will try and stay with it. Energetics will try and get through. Farrell will try and get through. But right now, Old School trying to chase down Neo Luigi. That looks to be the fight for the podium places. Old School and Neo Luigi, they're so evenly matched on pace tonight. But so far, the AlphaTauri man is holding on to that place. And with Luke now firmly in his rearview mirrors, Neo Luigi is going to be eyeing up potentially that title lead if Luke drops back a little bit more in the race. Neo Luigi, whatever car you put him in, he's always performing. And a lower down in AlphaTauri, he's still producing the goods. Old School will try and get towards him. That's going to be a good battle to watch in the closing stages. As Marty finally in from the lead.
As Energetics gets through on Luke, that's something I didn't expect to see. Energetics back up into 5th place. He's making his way back through the field. He could yet have a massive part to play in the podium places at the end of this race. Still within a second of Old School, so he's got a really good chance to close that up as Noah Luigi starts to close in on Passe. It will be very interesting to see.
Hang on a second.
In a couple laps, see if Luke does decide to come into the pits for a set of softs.
If you look down the board a little bit, Sir Ebo himself has put on a set of the intermediate tyres. It's a bit sunny, but we'll see how this strategy works out. Oh my word. So Ebo, I imagine he's just made a mistake on the tyres, but this is quite amusing. He's just gone out and enters and immediately spins it to the wall and out. Oh no. Just no grip on those enters at all. And a full safety car is deployed, and this, Ross, changes everything.
Wow. I was about to say, when he crashed, let's hope that doesn't cause a safety car. And yeah, this whole race has just been, well, not completely flipped on its head, but it's going to give people like Passe and Luke a chance to change their tyres without much consequence, really. They'll drop places, but the soft tyres definitely come into play from this point on, as Rocco actually has timed that pit stop near enough perfectly. He was dropping through the field, and he's put on a set of the softs under the safety car, so that's good for him. Commentalist has done the same, and Campbell has got off his hard tyres, which, I mean, they were definitely going to the end, but they weren't getting in there very quickly, so he's changed onto the soft compound tyres. I think Marty's only just pit. Could we see him in again? It would be very interesting if he does pit again. I think. No, he is in again, so he's going to go for a set of softs.
Yeah, I think that's probably a smart strategy then, just try and preserve the tyres. Of course, he's now got a bit of a job to do because Neil Luigi in Old School, who will also be coming in. So Passe, that second place, he's had a big lifeline there. Maybe those tyres were getting to the end, I'm not sure. I guess we'll never find out on that one because everyone is going to be diving in. Or are they? Yes, yeah, Passe does dive into the pits. Neil Luigi stays out. And so does Old School. Well, they do have good tyres underneath them. And we know that, you know, the mediums and the softs, there's not a massive difference on race pace. But they are a few laps older. This is, I imagine, a bit of a power move, but they still don't gain track position on Marty. And to me, they're just sacrificing that opportunity to get some fresh tyres on. They wouldn't have lost much in terms of track position. So I'm not sure. Neil Luigi and Old School, now, they can try and stick with Marty because they don't have penalties. That is a biggie. But to be honest, with the amount of the volume of cars that have made for that pit lane, I'm not sure why you wouldn't pit there.
Well, yeah, also Farrell Fury decided to stay out as well. So
yeah.
They've all decided to stay out. I think Luke's gone into a fresh set of mediums. Which is interesting. He's the only one to have done that. But he does come out in 7th place anyway. Yeah, I don't know why you'd pit, because 5 laps on the tyres, they're probably going to be at the end of the stints. They're probably going to be about the same as the softs. It's probably slightly better in terms of wear, but the pace isn't going to be that much different. So they're just going to get breezed past at the start and probably not have enough to get back past at the end. So it is a bit of a weird one, and they wouldn't have lost out really at all. They probably would have been, yeah, a bit behind Passe, probably in and around Energetic. So, and that would have been like 4th or 5th. So, I don't understand. I can kind of understand it with Feral Fury because he didn't want to double stack, but it's a safety car at the end of the day. It's not gonna lose you that much time. So, and Passe was far enough ahead. So, yeah, it's a strange one. But the fact Marty's come out ahead of them after only just pitting on the last lap and then hitting again under safety car and still coming out in the lead, that's scary.
Maybe they were banking on them getting out in front of Marty and just trying to hold him back, because he does have a 3-second time penalty to his name, but to be honest, I don't think he's going to have much trouble getting that gap out. But of course he does have that, extra semblance of pressure now. He does have to try and get that gap out. He is going to have to try and push after being in cruise control pretty much the entire race. The Luigi and Olsko behind him, though, they're going to be some of the slowest cars in the field in theory. Of course, they've been some of the quickest cars out there tonight in general. But now with everyone out there on fresh softs, or in Luke's case, fresh mediums, which will still have a pace advantage, they could still get a good result because of their lack of penalties if they keep them to the end of the race. But you sense that this sort of strategy could be detrimental. But you know what they're like. You know what Old School's like. Farrell Fury, as you mentioned, of course, staying out as well, backing these guys up. But I think Old School in particular, you know what he's like as a defensive driver, and with that Mclaren, which is pretty rapid in a straight line, even on low tyres, he's going to be a hard man to pass. So if Farrell Fury can hold up as well, these guys might just be okay, but it's going to be tough work because they've got some faster cars right up behind them.
Yeah, it's. I'm looking at the Ferraris. I get the feeling, even though there is no constructors' championship in this, I get the feeling Ferrari Fury won't try and hold up Passe that much. And probably for the best, because Passe is going to come at him every single corner. That's just what Passe does. He's full attack all the time, and especially on the fresher compound, he's going to go straight to work, trying to get through. Yeah, I can confirm that Ibo made a mistake picking the tyres. So it was not intentional to be on the intermediates, but it's just unfortunate that he caused a safety car. It's just unfortunate that everyone happened to be coming through turn one when that happened. So, but we should, I think, get the safety car under. I think the safety car should go in. It's like it could be a very late call, this one, as it's just getting to the back of the field. It may decide it wants to.
Yep.
No, there we go, late call. So safety car in this lap. Marty has a chance to rebuild his lead again on this restart.
He does go at a quicker pace than most guys I've seen do on this restart. He went just before the last corner last time. He's weaving about, trying to outmaneuver Neil Luigi, and he does get good traction, powering away off the last corner. Away goes Marty, gets the race back underway. Now we're going to see some attacking, I imagine, from the soft runners. Rocco got right up behind Luke. Of course, Rocco has gained quite a bit from that safety car, now up at the P8 at the moment as they filter their way through turns 1 and 2. But no moves just yet. They all just sit in a lane. It's already Marty looking to try and get out of that DRS range. 1.1 clear already. You can see the advantages of those fresh tyres already. And Nemo Luigi, I don't think is going to be able to live with this pace. Feral Fury is going to be under pressure from his teammate. Passe looking to try and get through at the moment, but Passe not quite a good enough exit. Energetics right behind him looking to try and force his way through then further down the order, but it looks like we're not going to see much in terms of the way of overtakes down this back straight. You can see Passe breaking that Tota Energetic, stays in front of the Red Bull, so no major moves down there. They're all just set into line. I think we're going to have to wait to see those overtakes come through, but Passe, as I say that, right up behind his teammate. Is he going to try and find a way through? Farrell's not letting him through, but inside of turn 10, looks like it's going to be the move for the Ferrari. Gets way out of shape though, and there's a yellow down there, and another safety car is deployed, but for who? Chris Kamara or Ross?
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. I have no idea what's just happened. I'm so confused. What is that safety car for? Because unless there's a lot of debris everywhere, but I haven't seen anything there. And I honestly thought when the yellow flags came out, I thought Passe had gone round, but on the inside there. But no, it's safety car out, no one out of the race. As you were, and I think Marty had built up nearly a 2-second lead already in that one lap. So yeah.
Well, there's no choice now really for the other guys. Then they've got to stay out. It does, in terms of the medium runners though, it does give them just that little bit of time where they're not going to be under a threat, not going to be attacked, but they are going to come under more pressure, you suspect, later on, because the softs are now. The soft runners have that chance to look after the tyres a little bit better. I think it will not come in this lap. I actually have to go away for a quick toilet break. I didn't exactly judge this very well, so I'm going to have to dip for a little moment. Ross, you can take over then just for a little minute.
The treat of 100% distance races, unscheduled breaks, but I'm just really confused by this safety car. I've gone through the instance list, and the only instance since Ibo retired was a exceeding track limits warning for our favourite Scotsman, other than me, QVR Campbell. But I just wanted to get that one in there. I've got free reign now, so it's amazing. I am very confused why Luke went on to mediums unless he didn't have a fresh set of softs to go on to. But that must be the case, I would have thought. But he's had to live with that. He hasn't actually lost out during that first lap, and I think he had built up a decent gap to Rocco, so should be all right in that situation. But Passe does look it's kind of set Passe back because he didn't quite get that move on Farrell done before the safety car came out. And I think we might get the safety car coming in now. Or no, maybe not, no. The safety car is doing another lap. Yeah, Passe needed to get that move done really just before that, and he'd be looking at 4th under a safety car restart instead of 5th. But he needs to get these moves done as actually Justas comes into the pits. So is he I wouldn't have thought he'd have pit now if the safety car was caused by him, because he would have pit the first lap, but Justas in, and it's not a front wing change. So yeah, I'm a bit confused by that. Onto this fresh set of softs. So yeah, I'm still completely confused by the safety car has come out.
Hello.
Alright.
Yeah, it's good to be back then. I feel much better now. But yeah, we're going to have to look ahead for the race. Justas coming in, I suppose that's a bit of a no-brainer, being just getting some fresher soft tyres on. It doesn't look like the situation has changed much after that bizarre safety car. Does anyone even have damage? I'm not even sure. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but nevertheless, we will get racing back underway very, very shortly. So Marty will dictate the front of the pack. Neil Luigi will follow him through, of course. The tyres aged a little bit, but ultimately not much is going to change. We're just going to have just a bit of deja vu, really, from the last restart. Hopefully this one is actually going to come to fruition, even if we still don't know what caused the last this safety car. But nevertheless, Marty is going to control this, and given, it's harder to get the mediums into that temperature window when you're under a safety car, now that they've had a bit of green flag running, they could fare a bit better, these medium runners, but I think ultimately it's going to be a struggle, I think, to match Marty's pace here off the start. And if Marty pulled away so easily last time, early off the start, I think that these medium runners, they're mainly looking behind rather than ahead. I think Marty has no issue here, I think, getting out of that range, and I think Nemo Luigi knows that as well, so he's going to be prioritising maintaining that P2 as best he can.
Yeah, and I think the safety car has only really benefited the soft runners, making sure they probably can get to the end from here now, because they've only done one lap under green. Well, it wasn't even really a full lap under green running, so safety car stays out for yet another lap. And one thing that won't be an issue at the end of the race is fuel, because they've done however many laps under safety car now, so they should all be fine on that end, and obviously you get to recharge their batteries. But yeah, I said it when you weren't here. I think, but the one that might have lost out just a bit with the timing on that safety car was Passe, because if you'd have got that move done just before the safety car had come out, you're looking at, even though it's only one position, it's still a big position, because you've only got it's only 4 places for him to get to the front, so every position matters. If he's 4th instead of 5th, it's probably a lot easier for him to get through that through the field. Obviously it's old school in the Waluigi, it's never going to be easy to get through them, but you take in a car out of the situation, and from a starting position, it's psychologically it's also a bit easier, because you can see directly what you've got to do in front of you. So just with a bit of the timing of that, and also Luke still out there on the mediums, I just think for Luke he must not have had any fresh softs to use. So he's in this situation, but he was doing all right on the restart. I think he pulled out a second on Rocco, so it's top 7 should be well easily achievable for him and the Aston Martin.
Yeah, let's see. Safety car will predictably come in on this lap. There are some options available for Marty, but he does like to sit a bit closer to the safety car than most others, I think. He is going to dictate the front of this race. Nemo Luigi will be tracking him, looking to try and find it. He's still at the moment following that safety car exactly before it has got close to that pit lane. Does he? Yeah, now he's going to start to weave and just back them up a little bit. Nemo Luigi still following, and yeah, this is one of the fastest pace build up to a restart I've ever seen. And he does close right back up to the safety car, so he is allowing himself to just sit there and he's honestly giving himself less options, but now he slows it down again, weaving left to right, takes that wider line through turn 14, and now I think he's going to drop the hammer. We go away, and actually the clouds are beginning to come over, so we'll see if we have some late drama, late rain, potentially, but over the line now, on to the 41st lap of the race. Through goes Martin, he's already 6 tenths clear. Looks like we could have a battle there. Rocco this time much better start, up behind Luke, but can't quite find a way through. On the Aston Martin driver then, he sits behind P8 at the moment, has that extra grip to work with to try and push his way through, and already Marte is getting himself out of that DRS range at pretty much the exact same point as he did on the last restart. Hopefully we don't get any phantom safety cars this time around. Behind, look, pressured by Rocco. The soft tyres now coming into the road early here. Can Rocco find a way through? In that Alfa Romeo, the Aston Martin will not be an easy car to overtake. Luke will do everything he can to hold him back, and I think the move is not going to come from Rocco's. Luke burning that battery just that little bit more. Mercuric looking inside. Oh, Verstappen brakes very late, does the AlphaTauri, but can't get through. Verstappen holds it around the outside. The exit will try and come through for the flying fin. Doesn't get the run initially, but the AlphaTauri looks a little bit quicker in a straight line. Now he goes inside, and oh my word, you have got to be kidding me. We have another safety car for nothing. Is this just a bug with the game? I'm not sure, because, well, these safety cars are just coming out, and as it is with last time, there seems to be absolutely no trigger, and it's almost the exact same spot, Ross.
Yeah, that was exactly the same spot as the last one, so I get the feeling this might be a bug in the game, which is very frustrating because we've had such a good race up to this point. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. But if it does happen again, I get the feeling this one might get called a bit early. I had completely forgot about the weather, by the way. You mentioned it at the start of the lap. The clouds coming over. Old School has pitted onto the intermediate, so he clearly thinks that the rain's going to come out before. Well, actually, I think they've all pit onto the intermediates. Watch just as he comes in. Yeah, he's onto the intermediates as well. So all three of them are pit onto the intermediates. But they clearly think the rain is gonna come down before the safety car goes back in. If it was 3 laps, and yeah, there is
it's raining. So wow,
that is perfectly timed from them. See if they Old School and Luke. That's helped Luke out massively as well. From being on those mediums, being challenged by Rocco. And actually, it's going to help out the Waluigi and Feral Fury as well. Been on their old medium tyres, so all the soft runners really, it's not going to benefit them at all. Actually, this rain.
Yeah, well, this is fascinating because are we gonna be seeing the same bug repeat itself now? I'll let you in on something. So, Verstappen has said that has asked Ebo to leave the lobby, which he has done now. So I'm not sure if Ebo was causing the issue, but I don't see how. I've never seen this sort of bug before. Maybe you have, Ross, but
I've never seen this before.
Yeah, so I'm very confused. But the intermediates now are in play, and the rain looks to be coming down fairly nicely, so we will see how this works out. Yeah, that was a very bizarre episode there, it must be said. Hopefully the safety car will probably be in on the next lap, but I think now, with that rain that is coming down really hard, I think if this bug continues, they can always just stay out, but I think they're going to have to come in, and I think Old School, Luke and Justas have pulled the masterstroke here.
Could we see a Haas on the
podium? They're all coming in, look.
Wow. This is, Marty still has his penalty as well, so this 3 back-to-back safety cars have really not helped Marty at all. He had a 20-second lead, and now he's not even going to be leading the race, so he should still come out. I reckon he'll be 4th after all the pit stops. So he'll still come out in 4th, but he's got to make up those positions, and Old School still without a penalty, so he has really put himself in a great position to win this race. I don't think we'd say anyone other than Marty was going to win this race, but Old School in a fantastic position, and obviously he's in that McLaren. We both thought before the race he was going to be up there, but to win the race when Marty had a 5/10 gap in qualifying is he's put himself right into play with that early stop onto the intermediate.
It's a brilliant call from those three. However, I will say it is a little bit of a disappointment that because of the randomness at the end of this race, the result has turned into a bit of a lottery, I'm afraid, but you have to just adapt to what's around you. And so, well, Old School got it absolutely right, as did Luke and Justas, and they have benefited massively from this. So how is this going to play out then? Are we going to continue to see this bug play out then? We'll keep an eye out. Ebo leaving the lobby hopefully has sorted it out. It's so unfortunate that we actually had that issue because, well, it's one of the more bizarre things that I've seen in, well, this game. This game never fails to amaze me in all the worst possible ways. But now, looks like we are going to get going at the end of this lap. This time, Old School will lead it along with Luke, trying to react. Of course, he doesn't have a significant tyre advantage like Marty did. He's going to have to try and control this in the best possible way. He sits now, beginning to back up that pack, and Luke will be reacting. Where will the McLaren man go? When will he drop the hammer, put it down? He nearly loses it, I think, through turn 12, although I think he is just exaggerating with a bit of weaving. So the McLaren man still backing them, stacking them all up here as he looks now towards turn 14, weaving left and right, trying to keep that temperature in the tyres. Of course, they're all trying to preserve that temperature. He's taking that really wide line then to open up that throttle. He's still poised, sitting into turn 15 to put the hammer down. Now, does he drop it out of the last corner? Yes, he does, and away he goes. Old School 3000 catapulting away at the front of the race. And Justas, great run on Luku 5H2 has to cover the inside line into turn 1. Old School breaking away now. The inside is still preserved by the Aston Martin. He breaks late, but he breaks at the right moment to maintain that possession too. But they're all fading away further back. Then Marty trying to get involved, trying to recover. You can see the field now filtering through then as further back Recuric picking up Nolan gets through into P9 in front of the Alpine man. So through goes Recuric, back goes Nolan. Behind that is Passy, Campbell, Commensalus, Rocco. Commensalus got wide through turn 4, but maintains the place. There's Justas now inside of Luke, gets through on the Aston Martin. Marty trying to follow through in turn 7, doesn't get through immediately, but now he has the straight to try and make up the ground on the Aston Martin. Inside is the defensive move from Luke, and now to the outside is the Mercedes. Can he outbrake him then into the Mistral chicane? Going round the outside is Marty, and he gets it done. Brilliant for Marty. He is to P3 now on the road, and Luke on slightly older tyres, just unable to hold him back. Justas done brilliantly there to get himself into P2, and oh no, oh dear, it's a virtual safety car this time earlier, and well, giving that, and there's the full safety car as well, at exactly the same point as before, and we may have to call this one off in terms of because it looks like as though we're not going to get any sort of green flag running to the end now, because we've seen this happen 3 times now. We've had Ebo leave the lobby. There's nothing we could do to prevent it, as it seems. There was no trigger. I didn't see anyone even get damaged, so this race, they'll probably see out the checkered flag, but we'll probably have to take the results from a certain lap, maybe before all the safety cars, because, well, the end of this race has just turned into a massive mess.
Yeah, this is bizarre. I've never seen anything like this. And I've never seen it, and obviously there was a patch a couple of days ago, so it could have been something that unfortunately occurred in that. But we had safety cars early in the race, and it didn't do anything like this. So yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but I think if the result gets called, it will probably get called when Ivo retired from the race.
Yeah.
Because it just seems quite unfair for to have 4 safety cars and have that decide the positions of the race. Because Rocco was up. Well, Rocco hadn't pit yet. Rocco was up quite high, and he was about 8th. I think it'll probably be the positions after that first safety car when Ivo crashed out. So yeah, it's bizarre, really. I think Justas has just asked the question. I think he's asking it because he wants the results of where they are now, to be honest. But I don't know if that'll be the case, because he got obviously it was a perfect strategy call, but yeah, just wouldn't have happened under the safety car in normal circumstances. So yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I get the feeling. Well, we'll carry on as if it's going to be normal, but yeah, Marty made but that move on Luke was fantastic. But that's the moves he has to make if he's going to win this race. Really, he's got to make it. Remember, at the start of the race, he managed to clear everyone on the inters at the start of the race as well. So he has clearly got that pace advantage in the wet, but he just doesn't have the track position right now. So if he can get the quicker he gets through, and if he can pull out the gap, which who knows with the safety cars constantly, he can still win this race with the penalty. But yeah, very interesting to see what's going to happen from now on.
I think we'll probably get 2 more safety cars before the end at this rate, so the end of this race is probably going to turn into a bit of a farce, unfortunately, but they're all just following each other around. Campbell has gone for a spin, and Nolan has decided to go for the pit lane. I don't see what these things really accomplish, but nevertheless, in comes Ariel Nolan to the pit lane. Campbell went round earlier on the lap. I think Rocco was held up behind that, and he follows the Haas now back towards the pack, you would think. Old School leads, but we're not sure where these race results are going to be taken from, because, well, it's hard to judge because, well, the first safety car that came out was perfectly legitimate, as the order is getting changed wildly here. I think everyone has decided to, for lack of better words, yeah, Rocco is driving backwards. He's decided to, for lack of better words, sack off the race here. So I think we're now just, yeah, these guys probably know there's just about nothing at stake here. As for when the results could be taken from, because like the first safety car that was brought out by Ebo was completely fair. And legitimate, as yeah, so Campbell and Rocco are just messing around now. So yeah, so that first safety car was legitimate, so I agree with you. You'd probably take the result from where that first safety car came out, which still isn't fair, but I don't think any way you handle this is really fair. It's just unfortunate. Yeah. I imagine it will probably only be half points that are given out for this race, in terms of well, every driver, as Rocco's crashed out the race.
Right.
Yeah,
we've had confirmation. The results will be taken the lap before Ibo crashed out.
Okay.
So before the first of these safety cars. So I think, well, Marty's still about 40 seconds ahead at that point.
Yeah.
So Marty is going to win this race. Effectively, just red flagged the whole thing. I don't know about the half points. It definitely won't get as many points for finishing the laps. But I don't know about the half points one, because I think that's normally, is it not half distance, or is it 75%? I can't remember. But I think this will probably still be full points in terms of positions. So yeah, I'm just looking back at it now. It should be Marty wins the race, Passe second, and Waluigi finishing third. So, and I think with that, Waluigi will probably take the championship lead, but it's going to be very close, as they are actually still racing. But
yeah. So they are still, some of these drivers, probably some of them don't actually know, well, I think probably everyone knows, seeing 5 drivers crash out of the race on their safety car, so I think it's pretty clear, but there's 8 of them still going around here. I think there's probably some bragging rights still at stake here as Marty hounds Old School. We can hopefully get some entertainment late in the race. Justas has decided to back out, he's in AI mode, so Neil Luigi goes through it on him. As
half points.
Half points.
Positions finished.
Full points for laps complete. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's pretty fair. So we'll have to calculate all of that, but yeah, since God, I'm so sorry, everyone. I have to apologise for what we've seen in these last few laps. There's just nothing any of us could do about it in the league. It's just sometimes we get let down by Codemasters. There's still a cracking battle going on here between Old School and Marty. They're still going for the win out on track, no matter what here. Of course, Marty, we can confirm, is going to be our race winner for tonight. Of course, will be tainted slightly by half points, but he was supreme, and I also think he's going to be out of that Mercedes pretty soon, but he's going to try and grab it and move on Old School. We've still got 6 laps to go. 6 laps we're just going to have to get through with 8 drivers. seemingly, well, Justas out of it, so 7 drivers still going around seemingly flat out, just trying to grab those positions out on track. These guys are so competitive, even in the most bizarre situations, they're still going to go racing.
Yeah, yeah, very weird. You know what the annoying thing is now? We've gone through a whole lap, and now we've not had a safety car, so... yeah, this just gets weirder and weirder. Looking at Marty, trying to actually win it on track, even though the race has already been called. He's got 5 laps. If you can get ahead, pull out the gap, genuinely win it. Justas, who was literally third a matter of laps ago, he's now. I mean, he's in AI mode, but yeah, he's now last of the current drivers. Passe managed to get himself disqualified. I don't actually know what he's done. This car mentalist has gone for a spin. Yeah, it's all a bit carnage right now, as you would expect, considering this isn't technically the race anymore. But yeah, as Marty's still not managed to get past Old School, was cut right across him into that chicane. Very nice defensive line, but yeah, it's a bit strange. This is.
Marty, you know, they're having at it here. They want this on track. I'm not sure if these guys are actually aware of. I imagine they must be. I mean, we've got 7 cars left in the race now. They must be aware of what's happened. But yeah, there must have been someone else in the lobby besides Ebo that was causing it, because obviously we had that slew of cars just, you know, crash out of the race, and one of them must have unglitched the lobby. So very strange situation as we come through with 5 laps to go in this. How do you describe it? It's just a farce, right? In terms of out on track. Luke goes in, he's probably going to put slicks on. And Old School and Marty still fighting out there on the road. So, Luke, what's the tyre choice going to be? Yep, looks like it is going to be soft tyres going on. The Aston Martin looks like he's serving a penalty, which I'm not surprised given the way everyone's been driving. But yeah, so Luke's going to go on for slicks. Oh, this is brilliant. This is just incredible. Like I said, I have to apologise for what we've seen in these last 10 laps. Really, just Codemasters being Codemasters. Really, there's not really much else you could say about that. Old School's doing a cracking job of defending this though out on track, and Marty still can't get through, and it looks like it's going to be hard for him to pull out that 3-second window. So Old School may win the race. Can you call it a race? I don't know, but those two still battling, giving us something to watch, I guess, in these last few laps of this fairly bizarre situation we've got going out here. But I suppose what we can do is we can try and look for. You had a look at the results, didn't you? That we're actually going to get. So they'll probably still include penalties, so these probably won't be the final results. But if you can just give a full rundown, if you can, as to what the classification could look like.
Right, I will. I think it's from the end of the start, probably from the start of lap 33. So let me just find where Marty actually crossed the line, which is the problem because he was that far ahead. So here we have it. So it should be. I think Marty is going to be first. Well, no, definitely Marty's going to be first.
Yeah.
Passe, I think, will cross the line second, but with the penalty, I think we'll drop to third, with Noah-Luigi jumping up to second. I think I think Old School will be fourth, overtaking Luke on penalties, and it should be Energetics, Rocco, Farrow Fury, then Nolan Verstappen, Car Mentalist. So that's the top 10. So Car Mentalist 11th. Rick in 12th, and then Campbell, Justas, and Ibo 15th, depending on whether they classify or not.
Okay, so there is your. That's something like what the actual result will look like at the end of this. As we're still watching Marty and Old School go at it then out on track. He's got a bit of a run, Marty. Can he pull it off at a turn 10. Old School going defensive inside. No real stakes here, but just good old fun racing between these two. Marty going outside here. Old School's going to move up across on him, and they do just about come together again. Marty tries the exact same move, throwing a lot of speed into the corner, but Old School with a speed through the middle of the corner gets through it. Yes, I agree with your message in the Discord. This is entertaining. These guys just going at it out there. They're not too far off lapping Luke, who's bravely soldiering on the slick compounded tyres. I have to. I'm not sure if the strategy call's working out for him, Ross. It doesn't seem to be delivering him quite a lot of grip at those soft tyres. So maybe like if you look around at the conditions, are you sure the softs of the tyre to be on at this stage?
He looks like he's the lines he's taken. He should beat everyone, to be honest. Yeah, I think the strategy is not quite right there, as he's now backwards at turn 4. But I don't know what else to say really.
We've got 3 laps to go of this thing. They are finally going to go past Luke's stricken Aston Martin then as he tries to recover. I just love that these guys are still going at it up at the front then. Luke, for some reason, gets a penalty. I can't think for any reason why, as he sits in the runoff facing the wall there, completely stationary, now reversing back onto the circuit. He's lapped by Justas's AI car, who's on for a brilliant P6 result. So fair play. As they're still fighting up at the front. Old School holding back Marty. Marty, it seems as though he gets close and has a run at overtaking, but as soon as he does that, it seems to make a mistake and drop back from Old School, and Old School's still holding on in this crucial fight for the win.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm I'm trying to confirm. Yeah, so they've confirmed the result. So it is Marty, the Waluigi passes the podium. But yeah, Marty still can't get through. Old School is doing his usual, really. He's one of the best in this league defended, and he's managed to keep him behind. I guess he's got the benefit of the wet, no DRS. But yeah, this is nothing's going to happen. As Luke is now about 10 miles off the track with no front wing. I think. I do know when I watch. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever done in commentary. Yeah, wow.
Well, it's better to laugh than to cry.
Yeah, exactly. But Marty had another look down into turn 5. Nothing doing there, and he's a bit far back again to have a look at Old School down into the chicane. But yeah, they're still going with 2 laps left, so this is where it all this is what matters. Finishing in the lead on lap 53.
I know that the nerves are going to be shattered for Old School. Just a quick check, he is on 2 warnings, so he's going to have to watch out here. If he gets that penalty, it could open things up for him to lose a lot of points in this championship. Luke is backwards again. I don't know why he isn't out of the race yet, but he's just having a good time. Man's just here in it, so he's just cruising around in position 7 out there on the road. I'm not sure how we can we commentate this? This is just
yeah, I have no idea.
We're coming up to the final lap, folks. Get ready. Here we go. Can Marty finally make that move? Old School doing a cracking job of resisting the attacks of the Mercedes man as they come over the line to get the final lap 53, kicked off. It's been a race of attrition here. We've lost well over half the grid. A lot of the field bizarrely crashed on the safety car. I can't think for a moment why they would do that. Just a bit of a silly mistake, really, to lose all that time. So it's left this fight between Old School and Marty. And Old School parks the car on the apex of 4. Marty has to just wait and try and pounce further around the lap. So let's see how this one is going to unfold. Old School gets a really nice exit compared to Marty through turn 6. And Marty is off the road through 7. Rejoins the road. Of course, both these guys draining their battery. Marty has an advantage on that front, so maybe he can get a run if he gets a good exit out of the Mistral chicane. He brakes a lot later than Old School. Old School just collecting the car onto the apex and parking it on the exit, just waiting and waiting to put down the throttle. And now he goes, and now Marty, you sense one of his last chances will be heading into turn 11. He's lining him up into turn 10 though, but again, Old School just that little bit more confident, goes defensive to the inside there. He's defending like Giancarlo Fisichella, Japan 05, but that is able to prevent Marty from getting through. He's going to dive into the turn 12 as he Old School covers the line as they head towards the line now. Just a few more corners left. Old School just maintaining that form now as he comes out to the last corner. Can Marty make a last corner, last ditch effort here? Looks like he will be able to, and Old School will win, quote unquote, the race coming over the line, crossing it first, then Marty just behind him. Of course, the official classification will look a bit different to that, but nevertheless, they come through now. Farrell from Rick, and then potentially Neil Luigi. Where is Neil Luigi going to end up in all of this? He crosses the line. I think he did jump ahead of Rick, so he gets 4th place in the end, and that is going to be it for whatever that was at the end of the race. I do feel quite sorry for everyone involved here, because that was ultimately a very intriguing, very exciting race that really, through no fault of our own, we just lost out on, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was set up very nicely before those safety cars started. With like everyone, a lot of the people that started on softs pitting onto the mediums, people that went onto the mediums after the inters pitting onto another set of mediums, having 10 laps pressure. Guys on older mediums potentially having to pit and make their way back through. It was setting itself up very nicely. It was at that point really where everything was about to kick off, and yeah, the glitches kind of shut that down. But I don't know if you want to go through the official classification or not.
Yeah, so ignore everything that's on your screen right now. I'll run you through it. So with penalties applied, Marty takes the win from Neil Luigi in second. Passy does round out the podium in the end, so he slips to third. Old School is fourth. Luke, a good result for him, still in 5th position. I'm not sure what happens in terms of the championship. It will close up. I think Neil Luigi might just snatch that lead. But we will see. Rocco is P6 in the end for Foul Fury, Energetics, Nolan and Verstappen rounding out the top 10. Carmentalist, Rick, Justas and Campbell are the last cars classified. So that is how things actually turned out in what the eventual result was. So yeah, I can only apologise for what happened in the last few laps. Just Codemasters deciding to get in the way of what was ultimately a very, very great race. I guess before we end up wrapping up, I'll hand back over to you, Ross. Just hear some final thoughts from yourself after, well, a great display from all the drivers, just not the best display from Codemasters.
Yeah, no, honestly, the racing was fantastic yet again, and even though we had 32 laps, that was so much action going on in that race, so much different strategies, and even the rain at the start really changed everything. The minute everyone could push full in qualifying, it was really good up until lap 32 or 3 when the safety cars decided they wanted to get involved every 4 laps. But yeah, no, that was some of the best driving we've seen this season. Yeah, there wasn't many real incidents except from maybe lap 1. But lap 1 you can kind of, it's understandable, but yeah, it's clean, hard for the most part, which is exactly what you want to see, especially in a full distance endurance race.
Yeah, I've got to say, yeah, the standard of driving was incredible. I think there was just one incident between Nolan and Verstappen, which to me looked like a bit of a racing incident anyway. There was the Alpines also coming together on the first lap, but again, that's just first lap, so yeah, I don't think there's much the drivers could have done better. I hope there's not much that we could have done better, but yeah, that was an unfortunate end to what was a very, very good night of racing. But I think that is going to be just about it for tonight then. That was the 3rd round of Season 1 of LOE Enduro. Of course, the next race will be in about a month's time in Portimao, so keep an eye out for that one. Should be a cracker and should actually last the full distance that time. But I think with everything just about said and done from myself and Ross, it is goodbye for now, and until next time, we'll see you later.